Welcome to NTD News Today. Here are today's top stories. The U.S. launching a heavy wave of strikes overnight against Iran, what President Trump says it's for, and how the conflict now involves more countries. The U.S. economy slows, but strong consumer spending and AI investment point to continued strength. A key confirmation vote for a Trump nominee is canceled after a Republican holdout. President Trump says the senator's opposition may be personal. Federal authorities go public about a nationwide human trafficking crackdown during the 2026 World Cup. Hundreds of arrests and 180 people rescued, including children. First Lady Melania Trump marks her fifth effort to reunite children caught in the Ukraine war.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Thursday, July 30th. I'm Paul Graney. Great to have you here. The economy continued growing in the second quarter, with consumer spending and business investment helping offset trade pressures and lower government spending. The Commerce Department says GDP increased at 1.5% annually from April through June. That's down from 2.1% in the first quarter. Consumer spending, which drives more than two-thirds of economic activity, accelerated sharply, rising at 3.2%. This after abruptly slowing to 0.5% growth in January through March. Businesses also continued investing in equipment tied to the artificial intelligence boom. The economy faced some headwinds, though, including a wider trade deficit and lower government spending. The Trump administration says strong consumer activity, tax refunds, and AI investment show continued economic resilience. And Shell is reporting its second highest quarterly profits ever in the period ending in June, as the first full quarter since oil and gas prices surged following the Iran conflict. Fuel companies raking in money due to the law of supply and demand. Less oil is getting through the Strait of Hormuz, but many people still need to drive. That makes the fuel that is available more valuable and enables gas companies to charge more for it. Shell is not the only one doing so. Oxfam International reports Chevron, BP, ConocoPhillips, Exxon, and Total Energies also have profited off the war. AAA says regular gas and diesel prices both rose about a cent between yesterday and today, with the global oil benchmark now fluctuating at or above $90 a gallon after fresh Iran war strikes. And Dr. Anthony Fauci pleading the fifth to over 100 questions at a Senate hearing where he was subpoenaed to testify on his handling of the COVID pandemic. NTD Washington correspondent Jack Bradley has the details.
There are so many legitimate questions that deserve answers, and now you're not willing to provide those answers.
Dr. Anthony Fauci refusing to answer senators at a Homeland Security hearing, which he was subpoenaed to attend.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your silence is very telling.
There will be repercussions to your refusal to testify today. This committee has scheduled a vote next week on a resolution certifying your contempt.
The former head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases invoked the Fifth Amendment more than 100 times during the hearing. That's despite former President Biden preemptively pardoning Fauci in one of his last acts in office, despite no charges being brought against him.
You've never admitted that it could have been a mistake funding this research in China. A pardon may protect a person from criminal prosecution, doesn't rewrite history.
And speaking of Fauci's counsel, his lawyer, David Schertler, was removed from the hearing for trying to speak to senators.
I said, sit quietly, you are not recognized. Another word and you're gone. Security, please remove him from the room. Let the record state that Dr. Fauci will still have the advice of the other half a dozen attorneys that he brought along today.
Now, during this hearing, Senator Gary Peters, the top Democrat on the committee, said that this hearing was biased, trying to reach a predetermined conclusion.
Today's hearing looks backwards.
But earlier this morning, President Trump saying, "I said from the beginning that the virus came from the Wuhan laboratory in China." Fauci strongly disagreed, always trying to protect China.
I disagreed with him on a lot. I would have had to close down the whole country if I listened to him.
The hearing unfolded following Senator Paul's release of a diary that Fauci wrote while he was still leading the government's response to COVID-19. Diary entries contradicted some of Fauci's public comments.
You also wrote on February 12th, 2020, that you had great concerns about the World Health Organization because it depends greatly on China and, as you stated, often bows to them. That China covered up their data, wouldn't allow our scientists to be able to come in. So the World Health Organization was putting out data that you saw, at least at that point, as being from a Chinese perspective, covering up what was going on.
At the same time, the Trump administration has just stopped gain-of-function research, saying it threatens lives and America's economic and national security if not properly restricted and controlled. So over the next week, Senator Paul says he will push to hold Fauci in contempt of Congress after repeatedly refusing to answer questions on Capitol Hill. Jack Bradley, NTD News, Washington.
And staying on Capitol Hill, where senators were forced to delay a vote on a key Trump nominee, Todd Blanche, acting Attorney General. NTD's Melina Weiskup has the update.
Senator John Cornyn is doubling down on his opposition to confirming Todd Blanche as the next Attorney General. His opposition means that a vote that was scheduled to take place in the Judiciary Committee will fail without any Democrat votes as expected, leaving Republican Chairman Chuck Grassley to cancel today's vote. Cornyn said his concerns stem over Trump's settlement with the IRS, including the anti-weaponization fund that Blanche has repeatedly said is dead. Cornyn also says he disliked a provision from that settlement that shielded Trump and his relatives from tax audits.
Sorry to disappoint you, but the meeting with Todd Blanche is off. For some reason, I don't know whether it's the staff of the DOJ or who it is, but they simply, they know what they need to do, but they simply refuse to do it.
Now, Blanche has repeatedly stated that this settlement deal protected the president and his family only from existing IRS actions, but not future ones. The president calling Cornyn's opposition personal.
Maybe John Cornyn's upset with me because I didn't endorse him. I don't know what it is, but I haven't heard that there's a problem. I heard he's going through quite nicely.
Chairman Chuck Grassley says he's working on a solution, but it's unclear if he'll be able to reach a conclusion before senators leave for their weeks-long August recess. As for the latest on the White House's requested funding for the Pentagon and the Save America Act, both of these are included in a reconciliation package that Republicans can pass without Democrat votes. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune on Wednesday once again saying that they don't have the votes to get it done.
In addition to providing much needed funding for the military. And so we're taking a hard look at it. But we also know we have to have 50 votes. And at the moment, as I've said before, we're probably not there, but we'll continue the conversation, see where it goes. We've got about a week to think about it.
So this package could very well be delayed until lawmakers come back in September, along with the Blanche confirmation vote, if they're not able to reach an agreement on that, which could leave many heavy items to deal with when lawmakers return in September, on top of averting another government shutdown. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
And Republican-led states are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to let key parts of President Trump's election order take effect before the November elections. The order would have federal agencies help verify U.S. citizenship and tighten security for mail-in ballots. A federal judge blocking those parts of the order after Democratic-led states argued they were unlawful and could create confusion before the election. The filing comes just days after President Trump asked the Supreme Court to intervene in the same case. The Republican states say the order doesn't force states to change how they run elections and argue the lawsuit is based on what might happen, not what's actually happening. The Supreme Court has given the Democratic-led states until August 3rd to respond to President Trump's separate emergency request in the same case. We'll keep you updated. And now, late Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, Senator Darlene Graham, is officially launching her Senate campaign. She's seeking to serve a full term after filling in for the remainder of her brother's term.
I'm honored to serve South Carolina and grateful for President Trump's endorsement, and I'll work hard every day to earn it. I'm a conservative.
Darlene Graham says she supports policies to protect unborn lives, ban men from women's sports, and ensure only U.S. citizens are voting in elections. She faces a crowded Republican field in the August 11th primary, though. Congressman Russell Fry and Ralph Norman, both closely aligned with President Trump, are both running. Former Governor Mark Sanford and former Mayor of Myrtle Beach, Mark McBride, are in the race too, and Mark Lynch, who finished second in the June primary against Senator Lindsey Graham, will also run again. If needed, a primary runoff would take place 2 weeks after the primary. And now President Trump ordering a new wave of strikes against Iran after Iran attempted a surprise attack on U.S. forces. It comes as the U.S. continues to squeeze the regime economically through a naval blockade and sanctions. Joining us now is NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao. Iris, good morning. What is the latest?
Hi, good afternoon to you as well. So today, Iran continues to attack countries in the Middle East region, especially those with U.S. bases in them. Jordan saying today that it again intercepted 5 Iranian missiles, and that's just a day after Iran targeted U.S. bases in Jordan. Now, countries in the Middle East, including, for example, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, are condemning Iranian strikes. The U.S., meanwhile, launching a forceful response overnight by again striking Iranian targets inside that country. And that marks the first time in several days that the U.S. has directly targeted Iran's mainland. The targets hits include, for example, military command centers, missile and drone facilities, as well as coastal surveillance sites. And that also comes after how Iran targeted a U.S. airbase in Jordan, and just about 2 weeks ago in another wave of attacks by Iran toward U.S. forces in Jordan, killing 3 U.S. soldiers. And President Trump yesterday vowing a strong retaliation, issuing this fresh warning to Iran inside the Oval Office. Watch.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it, but they tried shooting it last night. So we had 5 rockets shot going 8,500 miles an hour, and all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground. It was a different group than we're dealing with. They've already apologized, but, we got to smack them a little bit.
Aside from military strikes, the U.S. is also ramping up economic pressure on the Iranian regime. Central Command announcing yesterday that so far it has redirected 20 ships and disabled 2 others in the Strait of Hormuz in an effort to continue the naval blockade against Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. And also the U.S. Treasury announcing new sanctions related to Iran, including targeting at least 6 Chinese entities accused of secretly trying to transport Iranian oil, actually millions of barrels of Iranian oil from Iran to China. It also comes amid Reuters reporting that China will be sending Iran hundreds of shoulder-launched missile launchers, and that's a report that President Trump reacted to yesterday, saying that he would be disappointed if China actually acts on it, in violation of what they promised him earlier about not sending weapons to Iran. Meanwhile, this conflict could also be widening as Egypt is now directly impacted for the first time, as one of its ports is directly struck for the first time on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia also launched a joint strike campaign with the U.S. targeting Iranian militias based in Iraq. So amid these new developments, remains to be seen how and whether or not the U.S. would continue to with this campaign against Iran, now with allies in the region. Back to you.
A lot happening in the Middle East. That's Iris Tao in Washington, D.C. Iris, thank you. And now the DOJ has launched a historic effort to deport an Afghan national accused of supporting an election day terror plot, filing a first-ever case in the Alien Terrorist Removal Court. And women's rights supporters rally in Seattle to back WNBA star Sophie Cunningham. It follows her comments supporting female-only sports and spaces. We hear from Julie Lane from the Women Are Real organization.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Introducing the Quest-Wise Soothing Herbal Eye Patches. It comes with 30 pairs and can be used to help combat tired and strained eyes. The natural herbal formula provides a cooling, minty, and refreshing effect that stimulates natural tears and awakens your tired eyes. Placing the eye patches around your eyes helps to reduce dryness and massages acupuncture points. They can be worn while reading, studying, using electronics, and provide hours of long-lasting relief.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. Women's rights groups held a rally in support of WNBA star Sophie Cunningham. She recently spoke up for women's only sports and spaces. And NTD's Daniel Monaghan spoke with Women Are Real about the event that took place Tuesday before the Indiana Fever took on the Seattle Storm.
The group Women Are Real, media platform Known Heretic, and independent journalist Brandy Cruz say they wanted to show public support for Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, who has faced a wave of criticism since a July 22nd ESPN profile in which she expressed support for female-only sports and locker rooms.
I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
People, including local female athletes, took photos with posters of Cunningham and held up signs reading, "Thank you, Sophie," and quotes from Cunningham like, "I said what I said," and "With love is truth," which come from her statements on women's rights.
Humanity is hard. It's hard to be a human. It's hard to go through puberty. It's hard to reckon with, feelings that you have in your body. But that doesn't mean that men can take over women's fought for and protected spaces.
Activist Julie Lane discusses Cunningham's comment, "With love is truth."
I think what Sophie was saying is there's no hate here, which we're accused of all the time. She's saying, I love everybody. There just have to be boundaries in certain cases. And, sports categories are all about discrimination. We don't let 19-year-olds play with the 11-year-olds. We don't let able-bodied people participate in the Paralympics. We discriminate to make a category, and that's how sports are kept fair. But when you decimate the categories, sports is no longer fair.
Lane says she hopes everybody continues to be brave and continues to speak out truthfully.
I think there's still a reason to fear, death threats or cancellation or, threats within your school district or your sports league. However, there are a lot of people fighting for girls right now. And the more this is public and the more people just continue to say, I'm not going to give in, that you can't convince me that this is the right thing to do. I'm only going to do what's right morally and ethically. then I think we're going to win this. We just need more and more people to publicly come out, especially big stars like Sophie Cunningham.
On female athletes speaking out against their efforts.
I do think that especially female players should realize that they're shooting themselves in their foot by speaking out against Sophie Cunningham or threatening us, which they've done. It just makes no sense, and eventually, it's going to come home to roost for them that they stood up for the wrong cause.
The women's rights group say Cunningham's position is the mainstream position across the political spectrum, saying polls consistently show large majorities of Americans, including most Democrats, agree. The rally also drew a small group of counter-protesters. The Indiana Fever issued a statement saying neither the organization nor Cunningham had any prior knowledge of the rally. Women Are Real is a San Francisco-based nonpartisan coalition of over 180 California women. It includes women from across the political spectrum. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And the Justice Department is using a specialized federal court for the first time. It seeks to deport an Afghan national accused of supporting her family's ISIS-inspired plot to carry out a shooting on Election Day 2024. Prosecutors say the woman helped her son and son-in-law prepare the attack, including efforts to obtain firearms and ammunition. Her son was sentenced to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty, and her son-in-law pleaded guilty to terrorism-related charges and awaits sentencing. The Justice Department says the Alien Terrorist Removal Court allows authorities to remove suspected terrorist threats while protecting sensitive national security information. And New York is taking its first enforcement action under the state's new Office of Immigrant Trust. Governor Kathy Hochul and Attorney General Letitia James have given 12 law enforcement agencies until August 25th to end their agreements with ICE. But as some local officials push back, questions remain over what the deadline will actually mean for immigration enforcement across the state. NTD's Nico Boni has the report.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul and Attorney General Letitia James are ordering 12 law enforcement agencies across the state to end their partnerships with Immigration and Customs Enforcement by August 25th. The agreements, known as 287G agreements, allow specially trained local officers to assist with certain federal immigration enforcement duties under ICE supervision. Now, the state's deadline doesn't necessarily end communication between local law enforcement and ICE. A recent Fox News report cites a legal group arguing that NYPD officers can directly contact ICE under federal law, and this even in places like New York City, where sanctuary policies are still in place. Retired NYPD Captain John Eterno explains how New York City police will handle criminal illegal immigrants as a sanctuary city.
They understand the nuances that's out there. And the NYPD is well trained. They are very, very professional. And the officers of NYPD don't want any type of dangerous criminal to be released. So they would properly follow the guidelines that they've been instructed on.
Some sheriffs and local officials have expressed disagreement with New York's law that restricts cooperation with ICE and say they will not comply with the state's new directive.
The sheriff's position is the statute is an unconstitutional intrusion on their constitutional authority as, the only constitutional law enforcement officer in our state. And so we don't think that the legislature has the right to impose this on us, but we don't hold court in our sheriff's offices. We have to let the courts decide that. But our view is that, you're making it difficult for us to do what we think is our constitutional mandate. So we have to work around it and not do anything illegal, but still achieve our constitutional duty to protect the public.
The federal government has sued New York over the statute and is asking a court to block it. Nico Boni, NTD News, New York.
Federal authorities say that a human trafficking crackdown during the 2026 World Cup led to more than 900 arrests. The Department of Homeland Security says it rescued hundreds of victims. Here are the details.
The Department of Homeland Security yesterday announcing the results of a major anti-human trafficking operation it undertook during the 2026 FIFA World Cup. DHS says 905 suspected human traffickers were arrested and 180 victims were rescued, including 30 children. The operation was led by ICE's Homeland Security Investigations, which worked alongside DHS Center for Countering Human Trafficking and state and local law enforcement. Officials say one major investigation in Dallas targeted an adult bookstore that operated as a covert brothel for more than 20 years. Investigators say thousands of adults and minors were sold for commercial sex through the business. 8 people have been indicted. In another case, investigators in San Francisco rescued 2 girls believed to be victims of human trafficking, including one who had been missing since last year. Authorities say security teams also inspected more than 19,000 vehicles headed to stadiums and fan festivals. Customs officials seized more than 470,000 counterfeit World Cup merchandise items valued at more than $33 million. Authorities also seized more than 700 drones violating temporary flight restrictions nationwide, including 59 in Los Angeles.
A careless use of a drone can result in a catastrophic downing of an aircraft, so it's a huge concern of ours.
The FBI says the operation is helping shape security planning for the 2027 Super Bowl and the 2028 Olympics, both being hosted by LA.
Well, I think like most Angelenos, we're excited. We're excited for Los Angeles to put its best foot forward, and we are working very hard to ensure that we do our part with our partners to ensure safe and secure LA 28 Olympic Games.
The FBI says preparations are going full speed ahead.
In response to drones.
And next we'll hear from Frank Rusto. He's the director for the Center of Combating Human Trafficking. He was dedicating his work to advancing policy, raising awareness, and promoting coordinated action to protect vulnerable populations and strengthen efforts to combat human trafficking. This interview is part of the International Heroes Wanted campaign, honoring courageous leaders, survivors, and organizations working to prevent and end human trafficking. NTD Television and the Epoch Times are proud partners of the campaign. Take a look.
This isn't a far-off crime. It isn't the television show crime that many folks think it is. It's happening right here at home, and it's happening in communities across the country, not just in major cities, but in suburban, rural areas. One of the biggest surprises, I think, to us in this field was how many survivors themselves came out with criminal records, meaning that their traffickers oftentimes forced them into crimes, committing fraud, robberies, even assaults at times, at the expense of their own abuse. And that meant that those survivors then turn around and find themselves in our criminal justice system and paying the price that their traffickers ought to be paying. And so very recently we passed the Trafficking Survivors Relief Act. It's the first full-fledged effort that I was able to play a significant role in changing the way our legal system addresses victims. Now we treat them like we should. They're survivors of the crimes. They have the opportunity to clear their records. And most importantly, it gives them the confidence to work with law enforcement to go find those traffickers, which then law enforcement will charge for all of the crimes they've committed, including the ones they coerce their victims into. And one of the challenges I learned as a young Hill staffer was that this issue is, one, difficult to talk about, but two, there's so much on not just the addressing human trafficking challenge, but also supporting survivors. How do we get the bad guys out, but we take care of those who've been harmed by this crime? And so I had a chance to spend during my time there at the House and Senate Judiciary Committees, getting to know these survivors, getting to know these law enforcement components that were fighting this issue. And what I realized is no one was really convening or bringing these folks together to be on the same page. Everybody met when there was an investigation. Maybe they talked after a prosecution and someone was finally put away. But no one was talking on the front end, not as a team, not as one unit, to address the survivors, address these traffickers, and really find a way back towards not just fighting this crime, but ending it altogether, preventing it from even beginning to happen. Every one of us has a phone. That means every trafficker has a phone, and that's how they get to a lot of the youth in our society. So we've taken real steps to fight that. And so I've worked with those technology companies across the country to have to sit with survivors for the first time, sit with law enforcement, understand the challenges that each of us are going through, and make a decision that we're going to have to work together on this. And then the second piece is we have changed laws. Just this year, President Trump signed the Take It Down Act. It's the first time the tech community has to come to the table and have a conversation and then have enforcement that they're required to take down any of those abusive materials focusing on children right off of their platforms. That's vital to this effort. To me, protecting our next generation, having children of my own, it's the main priority. What I tell everyone is that the easiest way to get involved is to get involved in organizations, the nonprofits, the policy leaders, the survivor support groups happening. Organizations like CPAC have been a leader on this fight, and I'm proud to be a part of that team. But I'd also say you have local organizations in every jurisdiction, every city, town across this country that support survivors. People say something, say something. What does that actually mean? It means educating yourself through these nonprofits and policy leaders. And if you do see something, reach out to law enforcement. They want to investigate, they want to work with you. And CPAC launched its Center for Combating Human Trafficking 3 years ago, and I've been honored to lead it from day one. And what we've learned through that process is many of our laws need change, and many of our partners need to collaborate better together. And so what have we done over those 3 years? We've gone to 15 different states and passed legislation that supports survivors, give law enforcement the tools they need, task forces, technology, resources, funding to actually make a difference. And then here in Congress, we've passed over 5 bills. In a 3-year period, that's unheard of. And yet we've been able to partner with survivor organizations, conservative groups, nonpartisan groups, anyone who wants to come to this fight and create legislation that requires tech companies to step up, gives survivors a second chance, and also creates new tools for law enforcement to go after at the federal level. Some of these international groups, some of these domestic groups that think that they can use our at a time open border to abuse victims and create a profit stream. We're just not going to let that happen. But it's also putting public pressure on those tech companies and on all lawmakers to make sure that our legal system actually protects victims and stops these traffickers from ever being able to reach our children in the first place.
My name is Rosy Orozco, a former congresswoman from Mexico who fought against the cartels and human trafficking. This year, we are launching the Heroes Wanted campaign, shining a light on extraordinary people fighting in the front lines.
So go to kaleido.charity/heroeswanted, watch their stories to help amplify their impact, and vote for the hero who inspires you the most.
And still to come this morning, a political analyst says security concerns, economic struggles, and a backlash against the left are fueling a conservative shift across Latin America. And deadly wildfires rage across southern Europe, forcing evacuations as France, Spain, and Greece battle the flames after the break.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had 0 chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. You won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. We move on to the Russia-Ukraine war now, where Ukrainian officials say that Russia launched one of its largest air attacks on Ukraine overnight. Ukraine's President Zelensky saying that Russia fired more than 70 missiles and about 280 drones, killing 8 people. Russia says it targeted military facilities, but Ukraine says residential buildings, schools, and other civilian sites were hit. Ukraine says air defenses intercepted more than 260 drones. But U.S.-made Patriot defense systems are the only weapon Ukraine has to down Russia's ballistic missiles, and those missiles are in constant short supply globally. President Volodymyr Zelensky is urging allies to speed up deliveries of air defense weapons. He says only the extraordinary expertise of Ukrainian air defense units helped save lives when defense weapons were not provided or delivered slowly. Poland, meanwhile, scrambled fighter jets after a Russian cruise missile crossed into its airspace and crashed about 55 miles inside the country. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said there was no direct threat because the missile landed in an uninhabited area.
There is no reason to believe that Poland was the target, but 2 of these objects violated Polish airspace. According to military experts, the vast majority of the evidence, including the fragments found, points to a Russian Kh-101 missile.
And First Lady Melania Trump is helping reunite more families separated by the war in Ukraine. The White House announcing that today, Melania Trump has helped reunite 5 more Ukrainian and Russian children with their loved ones. That marks the 5th such reunification efforts she has facilitated. The First Lady said every reunion shows that compassion, dignity, and family can rise above the devastation of war. She added that she and her representative will continue working with the governments of Russia and Ukraine to safely return children to their families and communities. At least 27 children have been reunited with their families through these efforts, including at least 22 from Ukrainian families. Thousands of Ukrainian children have been taken to Russia since the full-scale invasion began in 2022. And now wildfires are spreading across parts of Europe, with France, Spain, and Greece battling major blazes. In Greece, 3 firefighters were killed as crews fought fires in the island of Crete and in southern parts of the country. Spain is also battling multiple wildfires, including in the country's northwest and eastern regions. Tens of thousands have been forced to leave their homes. Strong winds and dry conditions are complicating firefighting efforts across the region. And in southwestern France, firefighters have contained a massive wildfire near Bordeaux, but officials warn the threat is not over. The fire has burned over 100,000 acres and forced 220,000 residents and tourists to evacuate. 2 people were arrested on suspicion of arson. France's Interior Minister says the situation remains volatile.
We reviewed the situation this morning, which leads us to believe that we have a slight improvement in the weather, with a rise in humidity levels and a little less wind. But the fact remains that the risk is still extremely high, because we are in a situation of severe drought, with abundant vegetation. And what we are seeing is that yesterday we recorded 26 fires across the country, which were dealt with, and these fires spread very quickly and intensely. So despite this improvement in the weather, we obviously remain extremely vigilant and consider the situation to still be quite complicated.
And France has announced further increases in the number of firefighters engaged, now up to 3,300. A fleet of 24 water-dropping planes and helicopters continues to bombard the smoldering woodlands from the air. In a first, police water cannons, usually used for riot control, are also being added, with 7 of them joining a vast effort today to extinguish embers and flare-ups all along the fire's outer edges, stretching across 150 miles. And the death toll from this week's powerful earthquake in Japan's Kushuku region has risen to 30, with officials saying more than 250 aftershocks have rattled the region since Tuesday's quake. 8 people were killed at a damaged paper factory, while a gas explosion at a shopping mall claimed at least 5 lives. Power outages remain widespread across the disaster zone, with residents also struggling with widespread water outages, with many lining up at emergency water trucks for drinking water and daily needs. Officials are urging residents to remain on alert, warning that more earthquakes are possible over the coming days. Terrible. And now another conservative takes power in Latin America. Keiko Fujimori was sworn in as Peru's president this week. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with a political scientist about the region's growing shift to the right.
Since 2023, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Peru have shifted politically to the right. At Tuesday's ceremony in Lima, the 51-year-old president of Peru sang the military would temporarily take charge of security operations in high-crime areas during emergencies until order is restored. Political scientist Ariel Sheen earned a master's degree from New York University. Always interested in Latin America, he completed his doctoral studies in Colombia. Now living in Peru, Sheen says many voters were disappointed with the choices before them, but were relieved to see the left defeated.
There is a growing recognition, and I know this from living in Colombia as well, which also recently elected a rightist president, that people are fed up with the false narratives promoted by the left, which does not bring them any more economic abundance, and it brings them less security. And these two issues, economic growth and security, is what is motivating all of Latin America to give up on these dreams promoted by the left.
Sheen argues the rightward trend is also being helped by what he describes as the collapse of left-wing financing networks tied to Venezuela after Nicolas Maduro's capture. He says those networks relied on the Venezuelan state to funnel support to political movements abroad.
It is well established through multiple accounts that various transnational criminal organizations were using the Venezuelan state as an intermediary to help fund foreign political organizations.
But Sheen warns against any declaration of victory over communism and its offshoots.
That just because Cuba is going to probably change very soon, and Venezuela has, that means the threat is over. As someone that has talked to a lot of these leftists, they are committed. They've got 20 and 30-year plans that they operate from. They're able to adapt their actions and activities based upon changing conditions on the ground.
On the topic of Cuba, Sheen also commented on the recent 100-page State Department report published this month titled "Cuba, the Capital of 21st Century Communism." The report accuses the Cuban government of decades of subversion and exporting leftist ideology.
Cuba's influence specifically on the Black and indigenous communities that are also socialists within the United States cannot be overstated. Cuba has operated as a hub for these people to flee to in the event of charges being brought against them. It was basically the rear operating base for the Black Liberation Army. And there are still many people in the militant left within the United States that view Cuba as their natural ally.
With conservatives gaining ground across Latin America, attention now turns to whether Peru's new government can deliver on its promises. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And still to come, a real-life Spider-Man goes from helping a stranger on the streets of Arkansas to a Hollywood premiere. That and more coming up.
Summer should be full of moments like these. But when school doors close, millions of kids lose more than access to the meals they counted on. They lose energy and confidence.
Usually in the summer times, it's a challenge. They're home all day, so we need more food in the house, more snacks in the house, more than normally when they're in school.
Sometimes I just wonder, man, are we gonna make it through this week?
Families across America, and right where you live, are facing a summer hunger crisis, stretching every dollar in meal. But costs keep climbing. Call or go online now to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month. just 63 cents a day, to put healthy meals within reach for local families. And your first gift can double an impact.
Having access to a good meal during the summer gives me more energy.
Feeding America is the only nationwide network with over 250 local food banks, food pantries, and meal programs, delivering food where kids already gather. But we can't be there without neighbors like you.
It's like a weight off my shoulders. Without them, my kids wouldn't be fed.
Your gift today will provide more than food. You'll help fuel growth and potential, because summer should help kids move forward, not hold them back.
Your body gets tired and you need the proper stuff to help you get through that.
Please call or go online now. Give $19 a month, and your first gift can double an impact. We'll send you this free canvas bag as a reminder of the food and hope you're delivering.
Them having good meals that are nutritious to help them to concentrate gives me hope for them to have a good future.
It feels really good knowing that my kids have the food that they need. It really puts me at ease and it helps out.
Give now to help local families put food on the table and nourish a stronger future. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your first gift can double an impact.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire, and how to control the flames. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. Little consumer news for you. Ocopa Direct is recalling 1.5 million rechargeable hand warmers. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says reports link them to 1 death and 350 injuries. Regulators say the lithium-ion batteries in the hand warmers can overheat and spark a fire. That poses a serious risk of injury or death from fire and burn hazards. The dual-sided warmers come in packs of 2 and have magnets and USB-C ports. The CPSC says Amazon, Ocopa, and Walmart sold them between September of 2018 and May of this year. The company's website lists the model numbers involved. It also explains how to safely dispose of them, given the potential risk of fires. And more than 178,000 heated throws and blankets are being recalled over a fire hazard. The recall involves Octrot brand heated throws and blankets. Federal consumer safety officials say the electrical cord can detach and ignite to pose fire, burn, and shock risks. The blankets were sold on Amazon from August 2021 through December 2025. The company has received more than 500 reports of the products melting, sparking, or smoking. Dozens of fires and burn or electrical shock injuries have also been reported, so you should stop using the blankets immediately and contact the company for a refund. Now, another major recall for more than 120,000 retro refrigerators following reports of fires and 1 death. Galons Americas is recalling the refrigerators sold nationwide at the Home Depot and Amazon. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says internal electrical components can short circuit and ignite, posing serious fire and burn hazards too. Regulators are aware of 34 fires, including 1 that resulted in a death. The recalled units were sold between January 2019 and September 2022. Anyone who's bought a unit is urged to unplug the fridges immediately and contact Galons for a free in-home repair. And now the Department of Agriculture is investing $250 million in Arizona to fight the New World screwworm, a flesh-eating parasite that threatens livestock. Officials say the new facility will release sterile flies to help stop the pest from spreading. The announcement comes as the USDA prepares to resume imports of Mexican cattle next month after a year-long ban. The cattle ban helped drive U.S. beef exports to record highs, but some ranchers worry resuming imports could increase the risk of new infestations. Federal officials say there are currently 9 active screwworm cases in the United States, and all affected animals have recovered. Now, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pushing for higher standards in mental health and addiction care. Healthcare providers and insurers sign a voluntary pledge to treat these issues as a core part of overall health care. NTD correspondent Jason Blair has more.
Mental illness and the chronic disease of addiction are treatable, and today we pledge our commitment that they deserve the same urgency, coordination, and model of care of any other disease.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Medicare and Medicaid Administrator Dr. Oz met with more than 180 organizations and leaders from 30 states who signed a voluntary pledge to treat addiction and mental illness with the same standards used for diseases like diabetes and cancer.
For many, many years, mental health and substance use disorders have been essentially playing on the fringes where they're not really in the house of medicine.
The MAHA movement fundamentally is about making it easier to be healthy in America. It has to deal with mental health issues.
We're understanding more and more the links between mental health disorders and physical disorders.
The event supports President Trump's Great American Recovery Initiative. It aims to create a coordinated national response to addiction, focusing on prevention, treatment, and long-term recovery using evidence-based care and continuous support rather than one-time approaches.
Addiction is a chronic illness. Mental health is a chronic illness that needs lifelong treatment. And treatment is effective. Recovery is possible. We just need to come together to create the map.
The event framed mental health and addiction care as essential to overall health. Officials challenged the behavioral health community to create measurable outcome-based standards and to step up so the public can trust reimbursement for these services. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
And a flash flood emergency in southwestern Colorado after heavy rain. Officials say the floods destroyed homes, damaged bridges, and prompted evacuation orders in several communities. With the flooding following several inches of rain over the Aspen Acres burn scar, where wildfire damage left the ground unable to absorb water. Footage from Colorado shows water rushing over mountainous roads and rural areas. Floods also hitting the northeast. A storm dumping about 6.5 inches of rain at Albany International Airport since Tuesday. Emergency crews yesterday rescuing a family trapped inside a home surrounded by fast-moving floodwater. New York transportation crews say cleanup and repairs will continue for days, even as the storm system begins to move out. Terrible. The father of a rescued boy is praising the lifeguard who saved his 10-year-old boy's life from violent waves in California. Video footage capturing this week shows the heroic teen pulling the young boy to safety. The father, Sumit Rai, telling the Associated Press yesterday he ran into that water despite those conditions that are deadly. You have 10-foot waves, you have riptides and currents coming in, and he added, it's not safe for him to go into that water, so he's risking his own safety. Rai said that he is beyond grateful to the teenage lifeguard who saved his son's life. His son Nathaniel was standing in the surf when a powerful riptide dragged him out to sea. After seeing the boy lose his footing, 16-year-old lifeguard Ryder Williams jumped into action. He reported the emergency on the radio before racing into the swell toward Nathaniel. Video shows Williams diving into a crashing wave while dragging the boy to safety. Williams said, quote, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to return the child to his family safely. Incredible. And our real-life Spider-Man is heading to Hollywood after a viral act of kindness. Christopher Nathaniel, known as Northeast Arkansas Spidey, has been invited by Sony Pictures to attend the world premiere of Spider-Man Brand New Day in Los Angeles. The invitation comes after a traffic camera captured Nathaniel stopping his car and helping a man in a wheelchair cross a busy intersection on July 21st. He was wearing a Spider-Man costume at the time. The Jonesboro Police Department shared the video online, drawing national attention. Nathaniel says the act was not a stunt and he would have helped regardless of the costume. He hopes the moment inspires others to help people in need. There you go. Now, NASA is preparing to launch a powerful new space telescope that could help reshape our understanding of the universe. The Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope will travel about 1 million miles from Earth for a 5-year mission to conduct one of the largest cosmic surveys ever attempted.
We'll identify tens of thousands of supernovae and use these as markers to track the expansion history of the universe. We'll detect bright flares as a star is swept into a supermassive black hole. And we'll see the extraordinary outbursts that occur when two neutron stars merge to form a new black hole. Periodically, Roman will turn its sights toward the center of our own galaxy and monitor hundreds of millions of stars in a small patch of sky every few minutes. But it won't only image millions of stars. It will discover a host of new exoplanets, up to 40 times more than we know of today.
NASA says the Space Telescope will study the universe's expansion, dark energy, and the evolution of galaxies. Project scientist Julie McInerney says the telescope could survey more than 2 billion galaxies and may challenge current theories about how the universe works. Scheduled to launch aboard a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket from Florida no earlier than August 30th. If the technology is successful, astronomers will be able to move on to the next project, the Habitable World Observatory. Scientists say it will search for signs of habitability and life on planets outside our solar system. And now, before we wrap up this hour, some cute footage. During the heat wave, the Prague Zoo has cool solutions to help its animals. Tons of ice and cold water. The polar bears wasted no time and were rolling in the beds of ice cubes after entering their outside enclosure. The twins seem to have been having fun with the ice treat, with temperatures forecast to reach 100 degrees Fahrenheit today. Officials from the zoo started using ice during extreme heat 2 years ago. The polar bears were the ones who were enjoying it the most. You can guess why. Now, if you have any feedback on the show, maybe you'd like to see us cover something in particular, send us an email, news.today@ntd.com. Would love to hear from you. For Around the Clock, original news coverage, watch us live at ntd.com/TV or just download our NTD app. I'm Paul Grady. Stay tuned.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green-lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I've felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy 1 bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy 1, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
MyPillow's second annual mega sale is finally here. Get our patented premium MyPillows that adjust to your exact individual needs to give you the best sleep of your life.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
Now for the lowest price ever. Kings, $19.98. Queens, only $18.98. And Giza Dream bed sheets, the best sheets in history, for as low as $29.98. Lux Spear 6-piece towel sets, towels that actually dry you. What a concept. Now only $39.98. And our made in the USA mattresses and mattress toppers as low as $99.98. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our second annual mega sale. But that's not all. Order right now and we'll ship your order absolutely free.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here today's top stories. The U.S. launching a heavy wave of strikes overnight against Iran, while President Trump says it's for, and how the conflict now involves more countries. The U.S. economy slows, but strong consumer spending and AI investment point to continued strength. A key confirmation vote for a Trump nominee is canceled after a Republican holdout. President Trump says the senator's opposition may be personal. Federal authorities go public about a nationwide human trafficking crackdown during the 2026 World Cup. Hundreds of arrests and 180 people rescued, including children.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Thursday, July 30th. I'm Paul Graney. Great to have you here. The economy continued growing in the second quarter, with consumer spending and business investment helping offset some trade pressures and lower government spending. The Commerce Department says GDP increased at 1.5% annual rate from April through June, down from 2.1% in the first quarter. Consumer spending, which drives more than two-thirds of economic activity, accelerated sharply, rising at 3.2 percentage pace. This after abruptly slowing to 0.5% growth pace in the January through March quarter. Businesses also continued investing in equipment tied to the artificial intelligence boom. The economy, though, facing some headwinds, including a wider trade deficit and lower government spending. The Trump administration says strong consumer activity, tax refunds, and AI investment show continued economic resilience. And the White House is responding to the latest economic data. Kush Desai, Special Assistant to the President and White House Senior Deputy Press Secretary, posting on X that the core drivers of economic growth continue to surge thanks to President Trump's economic agenda. Both consumption and investment growth smashed expectations in quarter two of 2026. Net imports only increased because of record capital goods imports, the machinery and equipment that will fuel future growth. He adds, despite possible inventory data lags, the quarter two GDP report reinforces the fact that the American consumer remains resilient and the long-term restoration of America's industrial base continues unabated thanks to the Trump administration. That's what he said. And now President Trump ordering a new wave of strikes against Iran after Iran attempted a surprise attack on U.S. forces. Comes as the U.S. continues to squeeze the regime economically through a naval blockade and sanctions. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
Today, Iran continues to attack countries in the Middle East region, especially those with U.S. bases in them. Jordan saying today that it again intercepted 5 Iranian missiles, and that's just a day after Iran targeted U.S. bases in Jordan. Now, countries in the Middle East, including, for example, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, are condemning Iranian strikes. The U.S., meanwhile, launching a forceful response overnight by again striking Iranian targets inside that country. And that marks the first time in several days that the U.S. has directly targeted Iran's mainland. The targets hits include, for example, military command centers, missile and drone facilities, as well as coastal surveillance sites. And that also comes after how Iran targeted a U.S. airbase in Jordan, and just about 2 weeks ago in another wave of attacks by Iran toward U.S. forces in Jordan, killing 3 U.S. soldiers. And President Trump yesterday vowing a strong retaliation, issuing this fresh warning to Iran inside the Oval Office. Watch.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it, but they tried shooting it last night. So we had 5 rocket shots going 8,500 miles an hour. and all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground. It was a different group than we're dealing with. They've already apologized, but, we got to smack them a little bit.
Aside from military strikes, the U.S. is also ramping up economic pressure on the Iranian regime. Central Command announcing yesterday that so far it has redirected 20 ships and disabled 2 others in the Strait of Hormuz in an effort to continue the naval blockade against Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. And also the U.S. Treasury announcing new sanctions related to Iran, including targeting at least 6 Chinese entities accused of secretly trying to transport Iranian oil, actually millions of barrels of Iranian oil from Iran to China. It also comes amid Reuters reporting that China will be sending Iran hundreds of shoulder-launched missile launchers. And that's a report that President Trump reacted to yesterday, saying that he would be disappointed if China actually acts on it, in violation of what they promised him earlier about not sending weapons to Iran. Meanwhile, this conflict could also be widening as Egypt is now directly impacted for the first time, as one of its ports is directly struck for the first time on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia also launched a joint strike campaign with the U.S. targeting Iranian militias based in Iraq. So amid these new developments, remains to be seen how and whether or not the U.S. would continue to with this campaign against Iran, now with allies in the region. Back to you.
A lot happening in the Middle East. That's Iris Town, Washington, D.C. Iris, thank you. Now, the Department of Energy is taking action to prevent rolling blackouts for millions of Americans in the western United States. Scorching weather has strained a local grid operator to breaking point, with Southwest Power Pool operating across 17 states. The demand for its energy has never been higher as customers try to keep themselves cool. For weeks, major cities like Phoenix and Las Vegas have faced temperatures of up to 120 degrees. And it's not over yet. The Department of Energy's new emergency order stays in effect until August 3rd. With us now, David Blackman, energy policy analyst and advisor and senior contributor at Forbes. David, as always, good morning, good afternoon at this point. Thanks for joining us. David, this new executive order aims to prevent rolling blackouts. It's incredible. How likely is it we'll see those?
Well, we haven't had those yet in SPP or in ERCOT here in Texas where I am. But the threats there, every year at this time almost, it seems like we end up in our part of the world impacted by a major high pressure system that kind of parks itself over the Midwestern United States. And the SPP, as you mentioned, covers 17 states here in the Midwest, parts of Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, and other states. And so it's a big power pool. It is lacking in dispatchable capacity. Has a lot of wind power on it, but the wind doesn't always blow, and you end up in these times of high demand where capacity becomes strained. And what this order does is enable the SPP, the grid manager, to activate power plants that are higher emitting, older technology power plants that they keep in reserve for situations just like this, to come in and provide 24/7 reliable power generation to ensure that the grid can meet demand. And so far, that's been successful, and hopefully will continue to be for the next week or two.
David, the grid operator warned that it may be forced to issue what's called a level 3 energy alert. The Department of Energy is saying they want to avoid that. How would that alert impact people in those areas?
Well, that alert would ask people to voluntarily conserve energy by turning up their thermostats and using as little electricity as they can. Industrial users would also be asked to conserve. And if that doesn't work, then the grid manager would have to resort to mandatory conservation measures and even potentially rolling blackouts, which, of course, is kind of a last resort that you always want to avoid. And so what DOE is doing here is trying to give that grid manager the power it needs to override local and state environmental regulations that have forced these peaking plants and older generation technology plants to to stay offline. And in fact, some of the Biden and Obama era regulations tried to force these plants to be prematurely retired entirely so they wouldn't be available for situations just like this. Fortunately, on his second day in office, President Trump issued a national emergency declaration enabling these power providers to keep those plants at least in mothballs, ready to pitch in times like these.
So these have been left in backup, rather luckily for us, as you mentioned, David. David, the grid manager also said recently that it's on the brink of an electricity shortfall due to record demand. Is this purely weather related, or are these data centers also partly to blame, like we've been hearing?
Well, there's a lot of factors. There's population growth and there's data center growth as well, although in most of these states, the data centers are being required to build their own behind the meter capacity, their own power generation capacity. So they're not really draining the grid. Some of them are. And then there's just industrial growth here in the United States. We've had a lot of billions and billions of dollars of investment now in new factories and manufacturing plants all over the country, really. And so those are become big industrial users on a power grid. And so if you don't build the power plants you need to keep up with that rising demand, you can end up in a shortfall, which is what SPP is very concerned about right now. And you know, other grid operators around the country are facing similar challenges. So DOE tries to step in and give them the authority to activate the fossil fuel capacity that they need, that they can dispatch in these high demand times to ensure they don't have to resort to these mandatory conservation measures or worse.
It's incredible. Rolling blackouts, David. It's incredible. Finally, David, I've got about 60 seconds, no more. Is there an easy solution to this energy problem?
Not an easy solution, but there is a solution, and that, of course, just involves building the 24/7 generation capacity with natural gas or nuclear that you need to ensure you have the reserve capacity that's dispatchable, that you can bring in just to make sure in these emergency situations like we're having this heat wave right now, or major winter storms like we've had in Texas a couple of times in recent years, to ensure that people's power stays on, their homes stay cooled or heated, depending on what time of year it is, and people don't have to go without electricity for extended periods of time. And that takes a period of years and a lot of investment, but it's happening right now, thankfully. And within a few years, hopefully on grids like SPP or the ERCOT grid here in Texas, we're going to have that adequate dispatchable capacity to avoid any kind of blackout situations in the future.
Right. This is going to be a story. It's not going away anytime soon. As David Blackman, energy policy analyst and advisor and senior contributor at Forbes. David, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, on Capitol Hill, senators forced to delay a vote on a key Trump nominee, Todd Blanche, acting attorney general. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the update.
Senator John Cornyn is doubling down on his opposition to confirming Todd Blanche as the next attorney general. His opposition means that a vote that was scheduled to take place in the Judiciary Committee will fail without any Democrat votes as expected, leaving Republican Chairman Chuck Grassley to cancel today's vote. Cornyn said his concerns stem over Trump's settlement with the IRS, including the anti-weaponization fund that Blanche has repeatedly said is dead. Cornyn also says he disliked a provision from that settlement that shielded Trump and his relatives from tax audits.
Sorry to disappoint you, but the meeting with Todd Blanche is off. For some reason, I don't know whether it's the staff of the DOJ or who it is, but they simply, they know what they need to do, but they simply refuse to do it.
Now, Blanche has repeatedly stated that this settlement deal protected the president and his family only from existing IRS actions, but not future ones. The president calling Cornyn's opposition personal.
Maybe John Cornyn's upset with me because I didn't endorse him. I don't know what it is, but I haven't heard that there's a problem. I heard he's going through quite nicely.
Chairman Chuck Grassley says he's working on a solution, but it's unclear if he'll be able to reach a conclusion before senators leave for their weeks-long August recess. As for the latest on the White House's requested funding for the Pentagon and the Save America Act, both of these are included in a reconciliation package that Republicans can pass without Democrat votes. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune on Wednesday once again saying that they don't have the votes to get it done.
In addition to providing much needed funding for the military. And so we're taking a hard look at it. But we also know we have to have 50 votes. And at the moment, as I've said before, we're probably not there, but we'll continue the conversation, see where it goes. We've got about a week to think about it.
So this package could very well be delayed until lawmakers come back in September, along with the Blanche confirmation vote, if they're not able to reach an agreement on that, which could leave many heavy items to deal with when lawmakers return in September, on top of averting another government shutdown. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
And President Trump weighing in just now as the committee vote on Todd Blanche is postponed. The president writing on Truth Social, quote, "Todd Blanche is a star and everyone knows it. He has the potential to go down as one of the greatest attorney generals of all time." The president continuing, however, John Cornyn of Texas and Tom Tillis of North Carolina, both of whom I refuse to endorse and whose political careers have been ended by my action, are refusing to vote for this great nominee who will remain in any event as acting. Remember, both Cornyn and Tillis voted for Merrick Garland and others too numerous to mention. The president says, quote, "I have no objection to temporarily withdrawing Todd's name if they do not do the right thing and putting him back after Cornyn and Tillis are out of office." And just some background here, these two senators will leave office on January 3rd, 2027, and as current acting Attorney General, Blanche can remain in office for 210 days, but the count of his term will be suspended while the nomination process is still underway. And now the Senate Health Committee has advanced President Trump's pick for CDC director. The vote brings Dr. Erica Schwartz's nomination to a full Senate vote. Schwartz's experience includes serving as Deputy Surgeon General and in the Coast Guard. Her resume also includes degrees in medicine and law. Schwartz is the third nominee for the position in the past 18 months. Former Florida Congressman Dr. David Weldon was the first nominee. President Trump's second pick was Susan Monarez, who had been serving as the CDC's acting director. Monarez was confirmed by the Senate, but she was fired less than a month into the job. Since then, there have been a series of HHS officials as acting CDC director. But the Senate Health Committee has also voted to advance the nomination of Sean Kaufman, President Trump's nominee for Assistant Secretary for Preparedness and Response. Now, Republican-led states are asking the U.S. Supreme Court to let key parts of President Trump's election order take effect before the November elections. Now, the order would have federal agencies help verify U.S. citizenship and tighten security for mail-in ballots. A federal judge blocking those parts of the order after Democratic-led states argued they were unlawful and could create confusion before the election. The filing comes just days after President Trump asked the Supreme Court to intervene in the same case. The Republican states say the order doesn't force states to change how they run elections and argued the lawsuit is based on what might happen, not what's actually happening. The Supreme Court has given the Democratic-led states until August 3rd to respond to President Trump's separate emergency request in the same case. We will keep you updated. Now, late Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, Senator Darlene Graham, is officially launching her Senate campaign. She is seeking to serve a full term after filling in for the remainder of her brother's term.
Thank you all for your prayers. They provided strength through an incredibly difficult time. I'm honored to serve South Carolina and grateful for President Trump's endorsement, and I'll work hard every day to earn it. I'm a conservative.
Graham says she supports policies that protect unborn lives, ban men from women's sports, and ensure only U.S. citizens are voting in elections. She faces a crowded Republican field in the August 11th primary, though. Congressmen Russell Fry and Ralph Norman, both closely aligned with President Trump, are also running. Former Governor Mark Sanford and former Mayor of Myrtle Beach, Mark McBride, are also in the race, and Mark Lynch, who finished second in the June primary against Senator Lindsey Graham. He'll run again, too. If needed, a primary runoff would take place 2 weeks after the primary. Now, the father of high school shooter Colt Gray is set to be sentenced later today. Prosecutors say that Colin Gray gave his 14-year-old son the rifle used in the shooting as a Christmas gift. Today's court hearing opened with statements from both the victims' families.
He is a complete failure of a father. He made a choice to buy that rifle. He made a choice to ignore every red flag. And because of his choices, my little brother Christian and 3 others, Mason, Coach Aspinwall, and Miss Ermi are gone. And so many others will carry permanent scars for the rest of their lives.
Why are we here today? It's because of him. His actions and his neglect are responsible for what happened here. Though he did not shoot the gun, he bought the bullets.
Colt Gray killed 2 14-year-old students, 2 teachers, and wounded 9 others in the shooting. It took place at Appalachia High School in Georgia in September 2024. He was just 14 years old. Earlier this week, the school shooter, now 16, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His father was found guilty of second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and reckless conduct and cruelty to children. He's one of a handful of parents who have been criminally charged after their children were accused in shootings. Jennifer and James Crumbly were the first parents to face such charges. Their son Ethan killed 4 students and wounded others at Michigan's Oxford High School in 2021. The parents are currently serving a 10-year prison term for involuntary manslaughter. And now the DOJ launching a historic effort to deport an Afghan national accused of supporting an election day terror plot. Now, it's the first ever case in the Alien Terrorist Removal Court. And women's rights supporters rally in Seattle to back WNBA star Sophie Cunningham. It follows her comments supporting female-only sports and spaces. We hear from Julie Lane from the Women Are Real organization after the break.
Introducing the Quest-Wise Soothing Herbal Eye Patches. It comes with 30 pairs and can be used to help combat tired and strained eyes. The natural herbal formula provides a cooling, minty, and refreshing effect that stimulates natural tears and awakens your tired eyes. Placing the eye patches around your eyes helps to reduce dryness and massages acupuncture points. They can be worn while reading, studying, using electronics, and provide hours of long-lasting relief.
Appliances break down, home systems fail, which means I show up at every one store because I'm inevitable.
Unfortunately, something expensive is about to happen.
Is it the heat, plumbing, electrical, wiring, garage door, oven?
But we already have homeowners insurance. Actually, home insurance is for the unexpected disasters. A home warranty is for the everyday wear and tear that will cause your home systems and appliances to fail. So give the people at First American a call.
First American has had my back for years. It saved me hundreds. Just one call, and they send a pre-screened, qualified contractor.
Every home system and appliance fails. There's absolutely no avoiding it. But when the day comes, First American has you covered.
Home breakdowns are inevitable, but the expense, that's optional.
Call First American for a free quote that could save you thousands on inevitable home breakdowns. Call 800-423-1231 or visit FAHW.com.
I think building kindness in children from a very young age is foundational to their growth, to building their character, to allow them to share with each other in a classroom and in a space that is safe, like in the Ganjin World platform.
I'm a New York State certified teacher. Currently, I teach in a public school in upstate New York. And I'm also a Ganjin World Campus channel creator.
I've been fortunate to use Ganjin World's Teachers Premium channel for the past 3 years, and it's been shaping my curriculum and teaching both in the classroom setting and in our homeschool.
If children can learn to support each other from a very young age and encourage each other and help, it'll only strengthen the future of our society.
You can just assure yourself everything on Ganjin campus, on Ganjin World, it will be safe, it will be clean.
Sparked many positive changes in our students.
Ganjin Campus equips educators worldwide with powerful Teachers Premium channels and high-quality learning resources to help children learn and grow safely online. When you support one teacher, Ganjing World matches your support to help another. Support Ganjing Campus. Scan to learn more.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. Women's rights groups hold a rally in support of WNBA star Sophie Cunningham. She recently spoke up for women's only sports and spaces. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with Women Are Real about the event that took place Tuesday. That was just before the Indiana Fever took on the Seattle Storm.
The group Women Are Real, media platform Known Heretic, and independent journalist Brandy Cruz say they wanted to show public support for Fever guard Sophie Cunningham, who has faced a wave of criticism since a July 22nd ESPN profile in which she expressed support for female-only sports and locker rooms.
I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children, and that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
People, including local female athletes, took photos with posters of Cunningham and held up signs reading, "Thank you, Sophie," and quotes from Cunningham like, "I said what I said," and "With love is truth," which come from her statements on women's rights.
Humanity is hard. It's hard to be a human. It's hard to go through puberty. It's hard to reckon with, feelings that you have in your body. But that doesn't mean that men can take over women's fought for and protected spaces.
Activist Julie Lane discusses Cunningham's comment, "With love is truth."
I think what Sophie was saying is there's no hate here, which we're accused of all the time. She's saying, I love everybody. There just have to be boundaries in certain cases. And, sports categories are all about discrimination. We don't let 19-year-olds play with the 11-year-olds. We don't let able-bodied people participate in the Paralympics. We discriminate to make a category, and that's how sports are kept fair. But when you decimate the categories, sports is no longer fair.
Lane says she hopes everybody continues to be brave and continues to speak out truthfully.
I think there's still a reason to fear, death threats or cancellation or, threats within your school district or your sports league. However, there are a lot of people fighting for girls right now. And the more this is public and the more people just continue to say, I'm not going to give in, that you can't convince me that this is the right thing to do. I'm only going to do what's right morally and ethically. Then I think we're going to win this. We just need more and more people to publicly come out, especially big stars like Sophie Cunningham.
On female athletes speaking out against their efforts.
I do think that especially female players should realize that they're shooting themselves in their foot by speaking out against Sophie Cunningham or threatening us, which they've done. It just makes no sense, and eventually, it's going to come home to roost for them that they stood up for the wrong cause.
The women's rights group say Cunningham's position is the mainstream position across the political spectrum, saying polls consistently show large majorities of Americans, including most Democrats, agree. The rally also drew a small group of counter-protesters. The Indiana Fever issued a statement saying neither the organization nor Cunningham had any prior knowledge of the rally. Women Are Real is a San Francisco-based, nonpartisan coalition of over 180 California women. It includes women from across the political spectrum. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Federal authorities have seized more than 1,000 pounds of cocaine from a commercial truck at a port of entry on the southern border. The Justice Department saying the seizure has an estimated value of at least $20 million. With law enforcement seizing the cocaine at the Calixio port of entry. It's a border crossing linking California with Mexico. The DOJ said the drugs were hidden in floorboards of the truck and the attached flatbed trailer. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of California said it was the second largest cocaine bust this year. The driver, Jose Manuel Lopez, was arrested and charged with illegally importing cocaine into the United States. He's pleaded not guilty. We'll keep you updated. Now, the Justice Department is using a specialized federal court for the first time. It seeks to deport an Afghan national accused of supporting her family's ISIS-inspired plot to carry out a shooting on Election Day 2024. Prosecutors say the woman helped her son and son-in-law prepare the attack. That includes efforts to obtain firearms and ammunition. Her son was sentenced to 15 years in prison after pleading guilty, and her son-in-law pleaded guilty to terrorism-related charges and awaits sentencing. The Justice Department says the Alien Terrorist Removal Court allows authorities to remove suspected terrorist threats while protecting sensitive national security information. And federal authorities say that a human trafficking crackdown during the 2026 World Cup led to more than 900 arrests. The Department of Homeland Security says it rescued hundreds of victims. Here are the details.
The Department of Homeland Security yesterday announcing the results of a major anti-human trafficking operation it undertook during the 2026 FIFA World Cup. DHS says 905 suspected human traffickers were arrested and 180 victims were rescued, including 30 children. The operation was led by ICE's Homeland Security Investigations, which worked alongside DHS Center for Countering Human Trafficking and state and local law enforcement. Officials say one major investigation in Dallas targeted an adult bookstore that operated as a covert brothel for more than 20 years. Investigators say thousands of adults and minors were sold for commercial sex through the business. 8 people have been indicted. In another case, investigators in San Francisco rescued 2 girls believed to be victims of human trafficking, including one who had been missing since last year. Authorities say security teams also inspected more than 19,000 vehicles headed to stadiums and fan festivals. Customs officials seized more than 470,000 counterfeit World Cup merchandise items valued at more than $33 million. Authorities also seized more than 700 drones violating temporary flight restrictions nationwide, including 59 in Los Angeles.
A careless use of a drone can result in the catastrophic downing of an aircraft, so it's a huge concern of ours.
The FBI says the operation is helping shape security planning for the 2027 Super Bowl and the 2028 Olympics, both being hosted by LA.
Well, I think like most Angelinos, we're excited. We're excited for Los Angeles to put its best foot forward, and we are working very hard to ensure that we do our part with our partners to ensure safe and secure LA 28 Olympic Games.
The FBI says preparations are going full speed ahead.
And coming up, a political analyst says security concerns, economic struggles, and a backlash against the left are fueling a conservative shift across Latin America. And deadly wildfires rage across southern Europe, forcing evacuations as France, Spain, and Greece battle the flames.
That first time seeing my son, I feel like my life did a 180. I was already trying to change my perspective of life and really just be a father figure that I never had. Being present is the most important part. I'm still growing every day. Becoming a better version of myself. To be the better mirror for my son. I mean, he's just growing. He's becoming his own person. Man, first I saw him dance, bro, he brings the vibes, you know what I'm saying? He brings the party no matter what. He really a definition of like why he loves somebody. And I love him to the death of me.
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School. College first round draft pick, on and off the field. We were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating. But I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight.
Skylar, come here.
Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back. I'm Paul Graney. We move on to the Russia-Ukraine war now. Ukrainian officials say Russia launched one of its largest air attacks on Ukraine overnight, with Russia's President Zelensky saying that Russia fired more than 70 missiles and about 280 drones, killing 8 people. Russia says it targeted military facilities, but Ukraine says residential buildings, schools, and other civilian sites were hit. Ukraine says its air defenses intercepted more than 260 drones. But U.S.-made Patriot defense systems are the only weapon Ukraine has to down Russia's ballistic missiles, and they're in constant short supply globally. President Volodymyr Zelensky is now urging allies to speed up deliveries of air defense weapons. He says only the extraordinary expertise of Ukrainian air defense units helped save lives when defense weapons were not provided or delivered slowly. Poland, meanwhile, scrambled fighter jets after a Russian cruise missile crossed into its airspace and crashed about 55 miles inside the country. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk saying there was no direct threat because the missile landed in an uninhabited area.
There is no reason to believe that Poland was the target, but 2 of these objects violated Polish airspace. According to military experts, the vast majority of the evidence, including the fragments found, points to a Russian Kh-101 missile.
And DOJ officials are now making an announcement about new state partnerships and record fraud enforcement actions across the Southeast. Let's take a listen.
That many hands have joined the deck, and we are at our stations to join the fight against fraud. In addition to our gracious host, the governor of the great state of South Carolina, with me today are U.S. attorneys, state attorneys general, secretaries of state, state treasurers, auditors, directors, inspectors general, the FBI, HSI, and other partners from 7 different states across the Southeast. These partnerships are critical to solving our nationwide fraud epidemic. Fraudsters thrive on government agencies not partnering, not sharing data, not sharing intelligence. The fraud-fighting team assembled here today is resolved to work together to break those cycles and bring the fraudsters out into the light. When federal prosecutors work with state agencies to share leads, data, and strategy, the American people win. Better intelligence, better cases, better training, more money returned to victims, and more fraudsters behind bars where they belong. Just today, the Fraud Division signed data sharing agreements with 10 state agencies represented here across 6 states to formalize our shared commitment to the responsible sharing of publicly available corporate registration and government's benefits payment data for early fraud detection. This is an operational partnership, faster access to critical data, and joint work streams that enable us to move quickly when fraud indicators emerge. That speed matters. Every day we cut between detection and disruption and imprisonment protects taxpayer dollars and strengthens the integrity of our federal and state programs. Beyond the data streams that are now starting to flow, we are forging more and better relationships with our state partners. For example, in North Carolina, federal prosecutors are working directly with state program leaders responsible for overseeing federally funded programs, searching for criminals committing Medicaid, SNAP, and daycare fraud. These same prosecutors have created a channel for the North Carolina Department of Insurance to directly refer fraud cases involving illegal aliens who are defrauding the American taxpayer. The Northern District of Mississippi, represented today, has formed a fraud task force comprised of various federal and state stakeholders. The Northern, Middle, and Southern Districts of Florida have done the same with the Florida Anti-Fraud Task Force to protect public benefits programs. This is a historic collaboration in Florida from Tallahassee to Miami to attack fraudsters who exploit SNAP, unemployment benefits, and other taxpayer-funded programs. In addition to these partnerships, the DOJ is announcing today that since the 4th of July, our southeastern U.S. attorney's offices have charged 12 additional defendants with defrauding taxpayer-funded programs. These cases reach over $90 million in intended losses, and you'll hear more about those from our U.S. attorney's offices in a minute. One scheme targeted food stamp benefits in the Southern District of Florida. On July 8th, 4 defendants were charged for concocting a scheme to convince food stamp recipients to sell their federal benefits at a discounted rate in exchange for cash. The scheme caused nearly $20 million in fraudulent EBT transactions at a quick stop convenience store in Miami. 2 of the co-conspirators are foreign nationals, and 1 even has a pending final order of removal from the United States. And as the allegations allege, he is charged with defrauding the American taxpayer. As of today in that case, 3 of the 4 defendants have been arrested. Most recently, one of the defendants was arrested just 4 days ago when he landed in the United States on a flight from Jordan. The charges we're announcing today also include a fraud scheme targeting a program meant to educate our children. And I can't overemphasize that these are not victimless crimes. Every fraud case prevents bread from going to the table of a needy family, or health care from going to the elderly, or a child from receiving the education that they deserve. On July 15th, Chakessa Scott, her husband, and her daughter were indicted in the Middle District of Louisiana. As alleged, Scott was the CEO of Impact Charter School in Baker, Louisiana, which received state and federal funds. According to the allegations, instead of using those funds to benefit Impact Charter's students, Scott and her co-conspirators diverted over $1.5 million for their personal use, such as paying family members for fraudulent contracting invoices and purchasing luxury vehicles. Consistent with the charges in the indictment, a public investigative audit found that Scott used money to pay for a trip to Egypt and to buy a Land Rover, things that the average United States citizen would never be able to dream of affording. And yet you all paid for it. You all paid for that Land Rover. And now we're endeavoring to claw it back, to win it back for the American taxpayer. Fitting today's theme of federal-state partnerships, this case is a product of an investigative partnership between the U.S. Secret Service and the Louisiana Legislative Auditor, Mike Wagspack, who joins us here today. Thank you, Mike, for your hard work and partnership with us as we endeavor to root out fraud across our country. My message, in conclusion, to state partners here and across the country is this: the Fraud Division and our U.S. Attorney's offices are ready to help you scale your efforts, strengthen your cases, and deliver results for the taxpayers of America. Your partnership with us is the antidote to the fraud epidemic facing our nation. And my message to the fraudsters is this: our team is getting bigger, our resolve is getting stronger, and your time is getting shorter. Thank you all for attending the Southeast Federal State Fraud Partnership Conference, and now I'll turn the podium over to our gracious host, Governor McMaster.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, General McDonald. I'm happy to be here as well, and want to welcome everyone to South Carolina. It is hot outside. Sometimes it gets hotter. If you want to take a stroll now before it gets hotter, please go ahead. But this is a beautiful building. We started using this. It was opened up at the efforts of U.S. Senator Fritz Hollings years ago, as well as Senator Thurman and others, and it is gorgeous. And Senator Hollings said at the time right here, said this is the most beautiful new federal building that he had ever seen, and he was in the Senate for 34 years. But this is music to my ears, General, to hear that the President and the Attorney General, Acting Attorney General, and all involved have determined to make this a national effort based on a partnership. Now, the important part is not that the crime exists, not that it's outrageous, not that it should not be there, but that you have decided to use a partnership, a federal-state partnership. Why do I say that? We did the same thing under the direction of Ronald Reagan back in the early 1980s. his message to us at that time, I was a new U.S. attorney, was to go find those bringing the drugs into the country. And so we set out here to do just that. And what did we do? We put together a partnership. We put together a team. It was the State Law Enforcement Division and the local authorities, and the FBI, DEA, Customs Patrol, ATF, the Criminal Investigative Division of the Internal Revenue Service, and I said the mighty State Law Enforcement Division. It was a full team. They operated out of the same office. They had the authority to work under the supervision of the U.S. Attorney, which made it easy. And it was a statewide effort. And they used a different method. Besides having a partnership with equal members on the team, they used the financial method, the one that got Al Capone. He was indicted and convicted, I believe, on tax evasion, not his other criminal enterprises. Well, we followed the money, and we followed through mortgages, the lack of mortgages on expensive property being bought in resort areas, on people without any money that were going in and buying brand new Mercedeses and things like that with cash money pulled out of a brown paper bag out of the trunk of the old car, those kind of things. There was enormous money. But ladies and gentlemen, because of the partnership, because of the exchange of information, a bit of information that one agent that meant nothing to him but might have meant something to her, we were able to put together that team. We indicted, I believe, as 133 people that brought in billions of dollars worth of drugs. None of them had any criminal record before, and we indicted them and convicted after several years, every single one of them. I think it was 133. So that operation works. The name of that was Operation Jackpot. What has happened here is this is a larger operation. This is a nationwide operation that's going to be pushed by the Department of Justice. That will give it the power and the sustainability to get this done. And I want to congratulate all those involved. This was needed. There's a lot of money being wasted that could be spent very well on very needy things, very justified, very essential programs and people. And this is good news for this state. This is good news for this region. This is good news for the United States. And I congratulate everyone involved, and I wish you great success. Anything we can do in South Carolina to help, we will do. And thank you. Yes, sir.
I'll trade with you. Okay. I'm Alan Wilson, the Attorney General for the great state of South Carolina, and I want to echo what General McDonald and Governor McMaster just talked about. First, let me say this. This was an incredibly good day for us to learn what half a dozen states and multiple local and state and federal agencies are doing to combat fraud in this region of the country. When you think about fraud, think about it like this. The bad guys, those out there committing these conspiracies, they are not just depriving needy families from getting essential government services like food or even health care from getting them. Their fraud is an invisible tax in the terms of billions of dollars nationally on taxpayers around the country. When we don't work together, they are able to get away with it. These fraudsters, these con artists, they work together in schemes and scams. They are cooperating, they're collaborating, they are communicating, they are not acting in silos. And they are doing this to perpetrate this type of fraud on the American people and the people of South Carolina. Why should we do anything differently when we combat these schemes and these scams? We need to be collaborating. We need to be communicating. We need to be cooperating with one another. That is the only way we're going to be able to go after this type of fraud that's being perpetrated around the country. One such case, and I'll be very brief in it, and he'll probably talk a little bit about this in a minute, is that last year there was a border war case where the Attorney General of North Carolina and myself, General Jackson's here, we had U.S. attorneys, the FBI, we had local law enforcement, state law enforcement agencies working together to uncover the largest Medicaid scam up to $20 million in South Carolina history, okay? This had been going on for about 4 to 5 years. All of these agencies had to cross multiple lines and barriers. We had to cross geographic lines to overcome the impediments to go after this scam. It's North and South Carolina, geographic lines. We had to cross jurisdictional lines. That's local, state, and federal jurisdictions. We had to cross political lines. I'm an elected Republican. My colleague to the north of me is an elected Democrat. None of that mattered. These lines, these artificial lines, should not be barriers to us going after fraud. Our collaborative, cooperative working relationship allowed us to partner together to uncover $20 million in fraud committed against the South Carolina citizens and a significant amount of money committed against North Carolina residents. There's half a dozen states and a multitude of government agencies here that are going to do the same thing to go after those out there committing fraud on the people of this country. We're coming for you. We're going to find you. We're going to stop you, deter you, and we're going to put you in prison. Again, thank you, General McDonald, for allowing us to have this opportunity to come together and work to protect our citizenry. I'll be followed by United States Attorney Brian Sterling for the District of South Carolina.
Thank you, General, Governor. General, thank you very much. I want to thank President Trump, Vice President Vance, and the DOJ for bringing us together today, the Southeast, U.S. attorneys, constitutional officers, law enforcement, and everybody that can bring to bear a lot of resources on fraud that is happening across our country. I'm proud to stand alongside these leaders. U.S. Attorney's Office demonstrates a strong commitment to protecting our tax dollars. It's your money that you pay. Comes out of your paycheck, you pay in property taxes, you pay every other time. That is your money that these people are stealing. South Carolina, we're home to a claims processing center. Just a little bit of collaboration. Blue Cross and Blue Shield is here. A lot of local. And we said, we want to work with you. And they came to the table and said, we process all the claims for the VA, and there's another group that processes all the claims for TRICARE. So any fraud that is happening across the country, those cases can be brought in South Carolina. We have our first one getting ready to be brought. That was just from a simple meeting. The Governor McMaster likes to say, and I know General Wilson likes to say, we all know each other here in South Carolina. I think it's like that across the Southeast. It was one simple phone call. They showed up. Within a month, we had a case, and we're going to move forward with that case. I want to just take a moment to say that fraud is not just perpetrated against taxpayers. Fraud can also be perpetrated against families. A lot of y'all know the story of Gavin Guffey. Gavin's Law, 17-year-old from Rock Hill. He lost his life to suicide by being targeted by a sextortion fraud scam of Nigerian fraudsters. They posed as females. They were charged in a 5-count indictment, charging child exploitation resulting in death, stalking, threats, coercion, and production of child sexual abuse material. Unfortunately, Gavin took his own life. This is a week where that family should be celebrating his birth, his 22 years on this earth. Unfortunately, they are celebrating the fourth anniversary of his death. We brought charges on those cases, and we hope soon to bring it to trial. Soon we'll be doing that. The other case, and I want to thank the FBI for this, is Herb Kimball. Herb Kimball was a fraudster in a matter called Brace Yourself. He was selling braces across the country. It was a $500 million scheme that he brought. FBI put out a top 10 list, and he was returned to the Philippines. A lot of local reporters here covered that, returned from the Philippines to face justice. He was already found and pled guilty. He just took off before sentencing happened. We're looking forward to that sentencing pretty soon. Now I'm going to give it to U.S. Attorney from the Northern District of Alabama, Philip Williams.
Thank you, General McDonald and Governor. Thank you very much. My name is Phil Williams. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama. I'm joined here today by 2 other U.S. attorneys from our state. And I will tell you that in Alabama, we are committed to the work to combat fraud. And when I say that, I don't take it lightly. We have a SAR task force, Suspicious Activity Reports task force in my district. We meet on a regular basis with our federal partners, and we have great relationships with our state partners as well. That being said, I want to highlight one particular case for you that clearly evidences the fact that there are people out there who will not only take advantage of a moment, but they will do it time and time and time again. Just this week, my office in the Northern District of Alabama unsealed a complaint against a man by the name of Michael Anthony Shine. Michael Anthony Shine had a company called Shine's Professional Services, largely a tax preparation service. There was a tax credit that was available to people that had been around for 20 years. It was a green energy credit. If you establish some green energy production in your house, if you put some solar panels in or a geothermal heat pump, which I'd never heard of to this case, you could get a credit back for that, up to 30% of the value. Under the last administration, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act expanded that particular credit grossly and in such an exaggerated way that people began to see it as a cash cow, Michael Anthony Shine being no different. The allegations against Shine indicate that over the period of 5 years almost, he and his employees at Shines Professional Services filed upwards of 8,000 tax returns fraudulently claiming these credits for residential homes. And when I say claim these credits, we're talking about lying on a tax return that something had been done to the tune of $120,000 or more that had not been done at all. The IRS has paid out upwards of $65 million in returns, $65 million in refunds on those returns. That's a staggering number when you think about it. That's also not only a staggering number, but it's also staggering when you consider that those credits came year after year after year, and then therefore they also affect our state because it impacted state revenue collection. I want to thank the Criminal Investigations Office at the Internal Revenue Service for working with our office on this. Like I said, Michael Anthony Shine was taken into custody this week when his complaint was unsealed. The IRS believes that of that $65 million attributed to the returns that had these fraudulent credits attached to it, that the vast majority of that will wind up being fraudulent refunds. That being said, we are committed in our state to continue doing what it takes. We'll hunt it down, whether it be PPP fraud or other CARES Act frauds, or wouldn't it be something to do with SNAP or with EBT? But in this case, we found somebody who was actually assisting people, up to 8,000 of them, to put together fraudulent tax returns to literally debilitate the ability of the United States government to do the work of essential services on behalf of the citizens who were actually due a refund, not those who fraudulently filed. So the Northern District of Alabama will continue this fight. It's a fight worth having. And I appreciate the fact that we have a task force effort dedicated to doing so. Thank you. I'll be followed today by the USA for Southern District of Georgia, Meg Heap. Meg.
Good afternoon, Governor. It's a pleasure to be in this beautiful state. And in general, thank you for letting me. It's an honor to be a part of this task force. My name is Meg Heap, and I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Georgia, Savannah. And like so many other districts, we remain steadfast in our commitment to investigating and prosecuting complex crimes. Now, when most people hear the word fraud, they think of financial records, bank accounts, dollars lost. As a career prosecutor, we certainly follow the money, but what keeps us focused on the work is the people behind the numbers. Every fraud case represents a victim. It may be a family wondering why affordable housing projects have been stalled. It may be a taxpayer whose hard-earned money was diverted from the intended purpose. It may be the honest public servant whose reputation has been unfairly tarnished by the actions of one individual. And I think it's important to remember that fraud is not a victimless crime. It erodes it erodes trust, it damages institutions, undermines confidence in the systems that are supposed to serve our community where we live and where we raise our children. The case in the Southern District of Georgia is the United States versus Melanie Thompson and Toriano Bird. It's a great example of how the actions of a few can impact many. As the former executive director of the Hinesville Housing Authority, which is in Liberty County, Georgia, Thompson is alleged to have orchestrated a many years-long scheme involving fraudulent invoices, unauthorized payments, kickbacks, and fraudulent COVID-era loan applications, resulting in the alleged theft of more than $2.5 million, which was intended to serve the lowest income residents of of Liberty County, and also including not only those that were low income, our elderly, and also our disabled children and adults. The funds which were intended to assist those in housing it's alleged, went to personal homes. It went to jewelry, vacations, and cars, two of them being Bentleys. No single agency can investigate complex financial crimes alone. Our success depends on the partnerships. In the investigation, we worked alongside the Department of Housing and Urban Development, which was their Office of Inspector General, the United States Secret Service, and the U.S. Postal Inspection Service, along with our state and local law enforcement partners. Each agency brought unique expertise, investigative tools, and resources that strengthened the pursuit of justice in this case. The partnerships that we create and that we have here today are our greatest assets. Fraud schemes often cross jurisdictional boundaries. The fraudsters are not going to stop in Savannah, Georgia. They're going to cross to South Carolina. They're going to go down to Florida. They're going to go to North Carolina. Their intent is to take as much as they can from whoever they can, regardless of who it is, whether it harms them or not. And by working together, when we share intelligence and we coordinate investigations, we identify the misconduct, we build a strong case, and even more, we can protect the public. As U.S. Attorney, my commitment is straightforward. We will continue to pursue those who commit fraud, regardless of their title and regardless of their position. We will continue to work hand in hand with our federal, state, and local law enforcement. We will continue to strive to protect the public's money and the public's trust. Because at the end of the day, justice is not just about recovering money. It's about restoring confidence that our institutions operate with integrity, that public resources should be protected, and that no one is above the law. Thank you very much. And following me is the U.S. Attorney of Greg Kehoe, from the Middle District of Florida. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Meg. Governor, General, thank you very much for bringing us all together. This is a tremendous effort on a nationwide basis with state and local law enforcement, with the support of governors like you, Governor, to attack and disrupt these criminal organizations. And that's what we're here today, to talk about the pervasive nature of fraud across all different lines. I'm here with my colleagues from the Southern District of Florida and the Middle District of Florida, the Southern District of Florida and the Northern District of Florida, to put our coordinated efforts together along with the statewide prosecutor in Florida to attack this ever-burgeoning issue that is harming and undercutting the foundations of this country. The one case I want to talk to you about, and this will come as no surprise to you, Governor, that criminals don't pay taxes. As a surprise. And we have an individual that we prosecuted that's from May of 2026 by the name of Daniel Liberti. Daniel Liberti had failed to accurately report his income taxes for 2021, 2022, and 2023. And for those 3 years alone, Mr. Liberti failed to pay $34 million in taxes. Mr. Liberti has pleaded guilty to pay restitution to the United States in the amount of $34,846,381. He also agreed to pay his debt to the United States and to satisfy obligations by selling luxury properties he owns in Miami Beach, which is valued at approximately $39 million. I have some photographs that are up. We'll give you an idea of some of the properties that, I can't really see them from here, but some of the properties that Mr. Liberti had. But he has agreed, as part of his plea agreement, to civil and administrative forfeitures of an additional assets of $39 million that were involved in questionable bank fraud activities that his business was engaged in over a period of time. The assets that Liberti has agreed to turn over to the United States include $414,508 from bank accounts in the original scheme, 3 luxury vehicles, including a Land Rover, a Ferrari 812, a Ferrari F8, valued collectively at approximately $1.2 million. He also agreed to forfeit 3 properties, including one in the U.S. Virgin Islands, 2 in Miami Beach, with a combined estimated value of $37,500,000. This is all since May of 2026. The total recovery to the United States to pay out to victims and to recoup tax losses is in excess of $73 million. I trust that some of the photographs, if they're coming up here, will show you the various vehicles and properties that have been seized from Mr. Liberti and now in the custody of the United States. I want to thank the efforts that you put together, General, and governors like you with this support, along with the work of the IRS. We engage in fraud, but the fraud goes across lines. This was investigated thoroughly by the Internal Revenue Service, CID, as well as the Department of Homeland Security. And I will give you my word, along with all my colleagues here, that we will continue this fight. We will continue this relentless fight to pursue and bring back to the people of the United States money that was unjustly taken from them and money that's justly owed to the people of the United States. And I thank you for those moments. And if I can just turn this on to the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Louisiana, Zach Keller. Zach?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zach Keller. I'm the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Louisiana. And I want to start by thanking the governor for having us, thanking General McDonald for convening this. I also want to recognize Eastern District of Louisiana U.S. Attorney David Corsell, who's with us, as well as the phenomenal leadership of Kurt Wall, who's the U.S. Attorney in the Middle District, whose work that you've already heard from General McDonald. I'm here to talk about 5 guilty pleas that happened at the end of last month in a sophisticated fraud case in rural Louisiana. And I'm here to talk about it because, number one, it shows the type of work that we're able to do working with our state partners, our federal partners. And number two, it shows you the type of frauds that happen in rural places. Even in places like Oakdale, Louisiana, which is where this case occurred, which is a small rural town in South Louisiana. For nearly a decade, from 2015 until it was stopped by this administration last year, a business owner in rural Louisiana named Lala Patel paid 3 small-town police chiefs and 1 town marshal, Chad Doyle, Michael Slaney, Glenn Dixon, and Tebow Anisha, to perpetrate a massive fraud scheme to allow illegal aliens to remain in the country. To do it, Patel paid his law enforcement co-conspirators to write fake police reports, alleging that violent crimes happened to the victims in the case when there were no victims, when there was no crime. And they did this in order for those people to get visas that are allowed for violent crime victims in this country. And Patel would pay the officials $5,000 for each name, each bogus name they included on these police reports. And Patel used these reports to exploit an America visa program, these visas that allow these violent crime victims to stay here so that we in our communities can prosecute violent criminals. In corrupting that righteous cause, illegal aliens would contact Patel in rural Louisiana, out in the middle of nowhere, and pay him for fake police reports for one of these visas that would let them stay here in this country illegally. And Patel would then pay his law enforcement co-conspirators to generate these reports and lie about it in order for these visas to get issued to people who had no right to be here. And they didn't just do this once or twice, these conspirators, they did it hundreds of times, making millions of dollars, hundreds of false police reports listing these people, each one lining Patel and his co-conspirators' pockets, but cheapening what it meant for the real victims of violent crime in this country who are able to take advantage of this program so that we in our communities can be safe and so that violent criminals can be held to account. The defendants generated so many fake police reports about violent crime that the small town of Oakdale, Louisiana, popped up on a national database as one of the most dangerous towns in the country. According to this database, people were getting robbed all the time. A ridiculous stat that reflected not real violent crime, but instead the millions of dollars that Patel and his co-conspirators raked in, perpetrating this scheme for a decade before it was put to an end last year. All 5 of these defendants pled guilty last month and are now facing prison time. And this visa program, which exists to help prosecute violent crimes, is a core mission of our U.S. Attorney's Office in the work we do. We're trying to prosecute violent criminals to get them off our streets, out of our communities. And I know it's a mission of Governor Landry and Attorney General Murrell as well to do that work. But it's equally a mission for our office, the U.S. Attorney's Office, as well as their offices, the Attorney General's Office and all of our state partners, to dismantle, to investigate, to prosecute frauds like this. And the reason for that is simple, because these frauds are poison that kills these programs. That we talk about these programs and you hear about them and you think, well, that's a great thing for the community. But the fact is that the frauds we're talking about here kill them. They make them so that no one wants to do them anymore. So this case reflects that shared and coordinated commitment we have in Louisiana to stop this, particularly in rural Louisiana, to dismantle these schemes and to undermine the programs that keep our communities safe and that protect our vulnerable citizens. So with that, I'm going to pass it to the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Mississippi, Scott Leary.
Thank you, Scott Leary, Northern District of Mississippi. I'm here with my colleague Baxter Kruger from the Southern District. Mr. Sterling, I didn't plan on talking about this, but we're seeking to extradite a man from Nigeria who was also involved in sextortion. And it also resulted in a young man committing suicide. And that is an abomination. And the people of this country have got to know that our kids are getting placed at risk with what's happening internationally and domestically within our country. It appalls me. We also heard the word epidemic earlier, and so I'm sitting here in the Northern District of Mississippi. So let's look at PPP fraud. That's just one instance. We've got $2.3 billion in PPP loans that took place in the Northern District of Mississippi. Over $1 billion was fraud. Now think about that. $1 billion in fraud in one of the smaller districts represented here. That number just exacerbates itself as you move across this country. And we are blessed to be able to work with our State Attorney General in putting together a task force because, frankly, we are overwhelmed with this reality, and we need assets. And the most wonderful thing that I'm a career prosecutor. I've been a Fed for decades. And I sit in a meeting and I hear our administration say, pin your ears back and go get them. And that is so refreshing. So that's what we're trying to do. And it's amazing how small cases can lead to larger cases. We had one, Lakeith Faulkner. He was actually an SBA employee. SBA is charged with administering PPP, and this guy was manipulating the system and approving loans. And the investigation resulted in 12 convictions, $11 million in fraud recoveries, and it just goes to show what can happen when state and federal investigators and prosecutors can put their heads together and work together. That's what we'd like to do in Mississippi. And next, USA Eastern District of North Carolina, Mr. Boyle.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, General. I'm Ellis Boyle from the Eastern District of North Carolina. I was recently a private citizen before I came to be a prosecutor, and I've sat in the round table this morning, and I've seen what's happening in our district and working with my great partners, Dan Bishop in the Middle District and Russ Ferguson in the Western District, and it is absolutely infuriating to see this money getting stolen out of our pockets as taxpayers. I'm a taxpayer, you're a taxpayer. It's going to these fraudsters. We're doing something about it. We're working with our state and local partners, all of our federal ABC alphabet soup. They're doing a great job. I'm here to tell you about a case we had in the Eastern District of North Carolina with a criminal named Nejli Mitchell, who was engaged in tax fraud. We worked together with the fraud division and the IRS criminal investigators to find that she had 6 employees taking advantage of a COVID tax break for self-employed people. We found 420 instances of her and her colleagues putting in for this tax break for self-employed individuals. They didn't deserve it, they didn't earn it, but they got it. They tried to steal over $25 million of federal taxpayer dollars. They got almost 14 million, and we got her convicted in the end of June. She received $754,000 herself for preparing these tax forms, and she's going to be spending time in prison, and we are going to continue to go after these people. I'm very encouraged to hear my colleagues and partners here talking about what they're doing. Rest assured that we're doing it in North Carolina too. Thank you. Next up is the Attorney General from North Carolina, Jeff Jackson.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is what a united front looks like. We all know there's a lot of division in the country right now, but we agree on this. The acceptable level of fraud is 0. And as these fraudsters become more sophisticated, so too must the offense that we run. And that's what we're here doing today, is talking about how we can step up our enforcement efforts to do what every single person in our respective states want us to do, which is protect their tax money from criminals who are after it. Medicaid provider investigation fraud is one of the key ways that we have cross-jurisdictional effort in our state. We work very closely with all 3 of our U.S. attorneys. U.S. Attorney Dan Bishop is here. His office and mine had a $1.7 million case 10 days ago. Ellis Boyle, you just heard from him, a $12 million case recently this year. And Attorney General Wilson, a major case for South Carolina and North Carolina, over $20 million. This is what working across jurisdictions, working together looks like. This is what it can do for the people. And for anybody out there who is thinking about breaking the law to make a quick buck, understand, we are united and we are using new tools to come and make sure you can't do that. So think twice. And I will be followed by our closer, Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. Thank you, General McDonald. Thank you so very much for us all being here today. I am Lynn Fitch. I'm the Attorney General of the state of Mississippi. And it's been said hundreds of billions of dollars have been lost that belong to the taxpayers. This fraud happens every year, and we see that. Every dollar that a fraudster is pocketing goes to their benefit, not to the taxpayers, not to those who need it, and it's meant to serve. You know, President Trump called on all of us to take action, to step up our efforts to protect those who deserve those dollars, and to go after the fraudsters. You know, we're here today, and you can see that we are demonstrating that we are working together as a unified front, federal and state officials on the same page. We're working across agency lines and state lines. We are united as we fight fraud. It's partnerships like this that bring everything to the table in this effort. And it's in the spirit that I'm proud to announce that Mississippi is standing up the Joint Task Force Vigilance with the support of the U.S. Department of Justice, my office, along with U.S. Attorney Baxter Kruger, U.S. Attorney Scott Leary, and the FBI agent in charge, Robert Eichhoff. So we are surging our resources, putting our personnel together. We're going to use every tool at our disposal to go after and recover those fraud dollars and recover from those fraudsters. We'll be bringing on experienced and qualified prosecutors and seasoned law enforcement officers dedicated to making Mississippi safe, protecting Mississippi taxpayers, and restoring law and order. The Joint Task Force Vigilance gives us statewide reach. It enhances the coordination, and it gives us access to all the resources across our respective offices. Together, we'll bring the full authority of our offices to go after those individuals that are con artists, that are grifters, that are fraudsters, and they're the scammers. They will be held accountable in the state of Mississippi through the unified work of our Joint Task Force Vigilance. We appreciate the support of President Trump and the administration, and we are excited to stand up the first of this kind of task force in the state of Mississippi. Thank you again, General McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you, General Fitch. We'll take a couple questions at this time.
Hi, Lena Allen, WIS News 10. I just wanted to see if you could reiterate the tools and new resources that you all are combining to combat against fraud.
Yes, it's a great question, that being the tools that we're bringing to bear in these new relationships. So the primary tool that I would say relates to data that is owned in many instances by state agencies. And so we reached this morning 10 different memorandum of understandings with our state partners to be able to provide data to our fraud prosecutors across the country so that we can illuminate the pathways to fraud. If we follow the data doesn't lie. And where we follow the data, where we have access to the data, those silos are broken down and the fraudsters are brought into the light. And by virtue of these partnerships, then we're able to scale the prosecutions that we can bring by virtue of following the data. And then I would also say just the shared emphasis that this room is demonstrating with great energy towards solving this problem is the other benefit to the American people, to know that the entire state and federal apparatus is coming together to say, we're going to solve this together. We're not going to try to solve it apart because we won't be able to. We're going to come together to solve this because the American people demand it of us, and we're going to do our best to meet our obligations. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Reagan Race with the Daily Caller. How did this fraud go unnoticed before? Well, why did it take until now to discover all of this?
So the question is, why did it take until now to discover this? Our fraud prosecutors and fraud agents across the country have long been toiling with this problem and endeavoring to solve it. The moment right now, we have leadership in place who have decided to make this a priority, to give the tools to the agents that have been laboring in this field, to give the tools to the prosecutors to make sure that we can scale our efforts and actually build a fraud team that's commensurate to the fraud problem. So instead of little bites at the problem, we are endeavoring to solve the entire problem by putting an emphasis on it, by putting our money where our mouth is, by resourcing this fight, and by developing these partnerships like we had this morning with a roundtable with over 40 state and federal partners to ensure that we're bringing everything we can to bear on the fight against fraud. One final question.
With News 19 WLTX, have there ever been instances where you have tried to work together and it was more difficult because you didn't have a partnership like this in place? Will this make it easier?
This will make it exceptionally easier. We have for long relied on hero agents and hero prosecutors and hero state agents and hero task force officers to do this work across the country. What we're doing now is we're building a program underneath those hero agents and those hero prosecutors to make sure that they have the data tools, the AI analytical tools, and all of those resources to support their work. The good news is we still have those hero agents, those hero prosecutors doing this work. We now have the ability to quarterback those efforts by virtue of the National Fraud Enforcement Division being created at the direction of President Trump. We now have that ability to quarterback the field of fraud, to have the full field in view so that we can know where we need resources, where is the data missing, and how can we plug those gaps, both with respect to data fundamentals being in place and the partnerships that are really important to bring to bear. Thank you all.
Which way do we go?
Thanks.
Looking for a healthy and smooth-tasting brew? Drop by Days Coffee Roasters today and explore our wide selection of specialty-grade, small-batch roasted coffee. Home to North America's first enzyme-fermented coffee, we source a wide selection of specialty-grade coffee beans from around the world, and our baristas are ready to craft your customized brew. Visit Days Coffee at 28 North Street, Middletown, New York. Come experience a brew like no other.
Summer should be full of moments like these. But when school doors close, millions of kids lose more than access to the meals they counted on. They lose energy and confidence.
Usually in the summer times, it's a challenge. They're home all day, so we need more food in the house, more snacks in the house, more than normally when they're in school.
Sometimes I just wonder, like, man, are we gonna make it through this week?
Families across America, and right where you live, are facing a summer hunger crisis, stretching every dollar in meal. But costs keep climbing. Call or go online now to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, to put healthy meals within reach for local families. And your first gift can double an impact.
Having access to a good meal during the summer gives me more energy.
Feeding America is the only nationwide network with over 250 local food banks, food pantries, and meal programs, delivering food where kids already gather. But we can't be there without neighbors like you.
It's like a weight off my shoulders. Without them, my kids wouldn't be fed.
Your gift today will provide more than food. You'll help fuel growth and potential, because summer should help kids move forward, not hold them back.
Your body gets tired and you need the proper stuff to help you get through that.
Please call or go online now. Give $19 a month, and your first gift can double an impact. We'll send you this free canvas bag as a reminder of the food and hope you're delivering.
Them having good meals that are nutritious to help them to concentrate gives me hope for them to have a good future.
It feels really good knowing that my kids have the food that they need. It really puts me at ease and it helps out.
Give now to help local families put food on the table and nourish a stronger future. Call or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org, and your first gift can double an impact.
Eyes forward. Don't drive distracted.
Welcome to NTD News Today. Here today's top stories. The U.S. launching a heavy wave of strikes overnight against Iran, what President Trump says it's for, and how the conflict now involves more countries. The U.S. economy slows, but strong consumer spending and AI investment point to continued strength. A key confirmation vote for a Trump nominee is canceled after a Republican holdout. President Trump says the senator's opposition may be personal. Federal authorities go public about a nationwide human trafficking crackdown during the 2026 World Cup. Hundreds of arrests and 180 people rescued, including children.
This is NTD News Today, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Today is Thursday, July 30th. I'm Paul Graney. Great to have you here. The economy continued growing in the second quarter, with consumer spending and business investment helping offset some trade pressures and lower government spending. The Commerce Department says GDP increased at 1.5% annual rate from April through June, down from 2.1% in the first quarter. Consumer spending, which drives more than two-thirds of economic activity, accelerated sharply, rising at 3.2 percentage pace. This after abruptly slowing to 0.5% growth pace in the January through March quarter. Businesses also continued investing in equipment tied to the artificial intelligence boom. The economy, though, facing some headwinds, including a wider trade deficit and lower government spending. The Trump administration says strong consumer activity, tax refunds, and AI investment show continued economic resilience. And the White House is responding to the latest economic data. Kush Desai, Special Assistant to the President and White House Senior Deputy Press Secretary, posting on X that the core drivers of economic growth continue to surge thanks to President Trump's economic agenda. Both consumption and investment growth smashed expectations in quarter two of 2026. Net imports only increased because of record capital goods imports, the machinery and equipment that will fuel future growth. He adds, despite possible inventory data lags, the quarter two GDP report reinforces the fact that the American consumer remains resilient and the long-term restoration of America's industrial base continues unabated thanks to the Trump administration. That's what he said. And now President Trump ordering a new wave of strikes against Iran after Iran attempted a surprise attack on U.S. forces. Comes as the U.S. continues to squeeze the regime economically through a naval blockade and sanctions. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
Today, Iran continues to attack countries in the Middle East region, especially those with U.S. bases in them. Jordan saying today that it again intercepted 5 Iranian missiles, and that's just a day after Iran targeted U.S. bases in Jordan. Now, countries in the Middle East, including, for example, Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, are condemning Iranian strikes. The U.S., meanwhile, launching a forceful response overnight by again striking Iranian targets inside that country. And that marks the first time in several days that the U.S. has directly targeted Iran's mainland. The targets hits include, for example, military command centers, missile and drone facilities, as well as coastal surveillance sites. And that also comes after how Iran targeted a U.S. airbase in Jordan, and just about 2 weeks ago in another wave of attacks by Iran toward U.S. forces in Jordan, killing 3 U.S. soldiers. And President Trump yesterday vowing a strong retaliation, issuing this fresh warning to Iran inside the Oval Office. Watch.
We're going to be hitting them very hard because it's our turn to hit them. They know it's coming. They're asking us not to do it, but they tried shooting it last night. So we had 5 rockets shot going 8,500 miles an hour, and all 5 rockets were knocked down to the ground. It was a different group than we're dealing with. They've already apologized, but, we got to smack them a little bit.
Aside from military strikes, the U.S. is also ramping up economic pressure on the Iranian regime. Central Command announcing yesterday that so far it has redirected 20 ships and disabled 2 others in the Strait of Hormuz in an effort to continue the naval blockade against Iranian ports in the Strait of Hormuz. And also the U.S. Treasury announcing new sanctions related to Iran, including targeting at least 6 Chinese entities accused of secretly trying to transport Iranian oil, actually millions of barrels of Iranian oil from Iran to China. It also comes amid Reuters reporting that China will be sending Iran hundreds of shoulder-launched missile launchers. And that's a report that President Trump reacted to yesterday, saying that he would be disappointed if China actually acts on it, in violation of what they promised him earlier about not sending weapons to Iran. Meanwhile, this conflict could also be widening as Egypt is now directly impacted for the first time at one of its ports.
What a nice song. We thank Lee, right? Lee has been with us from the beginning, so it's great. And thank you all for being here as we take action to get illegal alien truck drivers off the American roadways. We're doing a very strong movement, and we have had such support for this, and replace them with proud American veterans. And it's about time. I want to thank Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, who's doing a fantastic job. Secretary of Veterans Affairs Doug Collins, likewise, really doing a good job. 92% approval. That's not bad, Doug. You'll get it up a little bit. Acting Secretary of Labor Keith Sonderling, and along with President of Werner Enterprises Nathan Meisker. Thank you very much, Nathan, and representatives from the American Truck Industry. Independent. We're all behind this 100%. I'm behind it 100%. We got to stop it. Every day you see another story. We're not going to let that happen. That won't happen with our great vets. But above all, thank you to the amazing veterans with us. I mean, they've just been with us from the day they were born, I suspect. They're great patriots, and we love them. And we want to thank UPS, FedEx, and Werner for the job they've done. Thanks as well to the National Commander of AMVETS, Paul Shipley, Chief Operating Officer of the Independence Fund, Doug Ackerman, and the great patriots from the Wounded Warrior Project, American Legion, Blue Star Families, Gary Sinise Foundation, Vietnam Veterans of America, and Paralyzed Veterans of America. We thank you all, and thank you all for being with us. Very special. Thank you, fellas. Thank you, everybody. For many years, American highways and roadways have been terrorized by unqualified illegal aliens dangerously driving big rigs like that. You got to know something to drive. Wow, that sucker is a big one. That's big stuff. But they're you have to have a knowledge, you have to have a talent for it, and these people don't have that. They're driving big rigs, semi-trucks, and tractor trailers, all because radical left maniacs at the state level have issued them commercial driver's licenses, even though they're not entitled to have them. They don't speak the language for the most part. Many of these illegal aliens don't even come close. They don't want to learn the language. They don't care about the language, and they don't speak it. They don't speak English. They cannot read basic road signs. In many cases, they've engaged in reckless driving that has caused many, many preventable deaths. Many, too many to even talk about. Last August, 3 innocent people were killed in Florida when an illegal alien from India made an unlawful U-turn, blocking all the lanes of the highway and causing a catastrophic crash. It was a disaster. Just a few weeks ago, a Pennsylvania state trooper was killed by an illegal alien from Haiti driving a semi-truck. He was let in by Joe Biden and the open border policy of the Biden administration. By the way, today we have the safest border in the history of our country. And I don't even say this usually, but for the last 14 months, because it's almost unbelievable to say, but the media will correct me if I give anything that's even slightly off. As of 14 months, in the last 14 months, 0 illegal aliens were able to come through our southern border. 0. Last year alone, illegal aliens with commercial driver's licenses caused at least 30 deaths and many, many very seriously injured. As president, I made it our official policy to enforce English language requirements for truck drivers and support American truckers on American roadways. We've already removed more than 24,000 non-English speakers from behind the wheel. We've also forced states to cancel more than 28,000 commercial driver's licenses unlawfully issued to illegal aliens. They were given illegally. As we get illegal aliens off the roads today, we're also taking action to replace these unqualified migrant truck drivers with highly qualified American veterans. Under our brand new Freedom Haulers, we call it Freedom Haulers initiative, any American who has driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license, and it's good-paying jobs, too. Any veteran with a heavy vehicle experience from the military will now be eligible to skip redundant road tests to obtain a commercial driver's license. We're going to make it as easy as possible for the veterans within 2 years following their active duty service. And for the veterans where you have a situation where you have not truck drivers in the military, where you don't have truck drivers, they're going to be given a very quick pass. We're going to teach them. They're going to learn. If they didn't drive a truck in the military, but they're going to learn, and they're going to learn very quickly, and they'll be licensed in a matter of a few weeks, I think it is. They're going to take about 3 or 4 weeks of training. 34 states have joined this initiative, including Indiana, Wyoming, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, and Maryland are joining us just today. And many of the representatives and leaders from those states are with us. It's actually a very big deal. This is a big deal. We believe that all 50 states and Washington, D.C. should join us in supporting these great veterans. And frankly, some of the states didn't know about it. They heard about it today, and I think they're all going to be signing up. Data shows that truck drivers who are veterans account for 42% fewer accidents. Think of that, 42%. And that number, they say, is a very minimal number, even as they drive the double the number of miles of non-veteran drivers. So to end this, very simply, the radical left wants more jobs for illegal aliens and more migrants in 18-wheelers and Trump administration wants safer roads and more jobs for the American veteran. Now I'd like to ask a man who's done a fantastic job on this subject and many others, Secretary Duffy, to say a few words, followed by Secretary Collins, Nathan, and a great veteran truck driver, Ricky Washington. And I'll just stand here and watch. Thank you very much. Sean, go ahead.
So thank you, Mr. President. And to underscore your point, President Biden let in millions of illegals into this country. And he thought it would be a good idea that when they come in, they get a job, and they get a job driving a commercial motor vehicle. They didn't have the training, they didn't have the skill. We didn't do background checks in the last administration, so they could have had a mile-long rap sheet of crimes or drunk driving or speeding violations, but we didn't know who they were. And we saw that when those illegals were driving these big rigs, they were killing American citizens. You're a family that was on the way to Walmart, or you're going to church on a Sunday, you could lose your life on an American road. So because of the president's initiative, he signed an executive order over a year ago. It was the common sense rules of the road. And since you signed that executive order, we all have been working overtime to make sure we take illegals off American roads, and we give those jobs to great Americans, including great American veterans. So that's right. These are great paying jobs. They're anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 plus a year. And it's important because you have men and women who drove big rigs in the military who would then get out and have to go through months-long training for their skills and their knowledge test to drive this vehicle over here. Well, if Secretary Pete Hegseth thinks that you can drive a vehicle like this, Donald Trump and Sean Duffy think that you can drive a vehicle like that. So we have illegals are out, American patriots are in this administration. We've had more people, trucking companies, call us and try to find, how do I hire more veterans? How do I bring the great men and women who serve this country, how do I bring them into my company? So you can go to freedomhaulers.dot.gov to get more information. But we are clearing the deck for you to get a great job in trucking. Mr. President, there's a lot of things that the radical left, as you mentioned, get angry about because they're radical. But safety for the American citizenry is bipartisan. This is not a political issue. This is an American issue. Let's make sure American roads are safe. Let's make sure we put great patriots who serve this country on American roads, well-trained, with great skills. And I think this is one of the great legacies of your administration. I am grateful for your leadership, putting America first, American veterans first, American roads first over the illegals who the last administration prioritized. It has been just an honor to work with you. And to me, he's a master class. To see how this president operates, to watch him and learn from him is amazing. So thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Sean. And Mr. President, I can't think of anything else that says freedom more in our country than an open road truck and a veteran. Because you have veterans that said one thing, when they raised their right hand, they pledged what others would not do. They said, I will go and do what others will not do. And it is this country, when you told me, and I asked you that question, I said, Mr. President, what do you want me to do? He said, just take care of my veterans. So every day now, since the last year and a half, veterans at the VA are first and only in what we do. And this. So when Sean and I, we heard about this, and we started looking at this, some things that we have done, Mr. President, you're behind this and working to get veterans on the road. I can't think of anything more American. I can't think of anything that puts us first. Instead of the illegals who want to come take jobs, let's put veterans in the seats, making jobs safer and better for all Americans as we go along. Because veterans, look, you proved once you can do it. I know for a fact you can do it every single day. As we look at this, some of the questions that come, the Wild West is over, so what do we do? How do we get our veterans into this? Well, one of the things that I want to emphasize is that we're now not only taking you as veterans, the GI Bill is going to be able to pay for this. You're going to be able to actually get and use the money to go get your CDL license. You're able to get this, and we're going to make it a lot easier and a lot quicker. Like I said, for those of us who rode in these, this will be a thrill. So we do that. We're going to use the GI Bill. The Dole Act also did something that's really important, and that was the CDL programs. It used to take almost 2 years to get in. We're now waiving that to where the CDL and disability, service-connected disabilities, can get in that instead of having to wait the 2 years. So we're actually putting into place what is already there and saying, you know what, we're going to make it easier for our veterans to do this. Our VR&E programs are already ready to train veterans to go take these jobs as we go forward. But as we go forward, let me just emphasize one thing already, Mr. President. 1 in 10 of our truck drivers across the country are veterans already. 1 in 10. Why don't we make it 2 in 10? Why don't we make it 3 in 10? For those who want to get out and serve this country, who want to be the leaders and be the safety experts who drove these, to drive these, will drive us as Americans in the future. We couldn't do this without a great partnership with the cabinet and our partners in the business community as we go forward. But I'm here to also tell you, you can't do it without a president who doesn't look at what can't be, he looks at what can be. And Donald Trump has said when it comes to transportation and safety and keeping illegals off the road, but also putting our veterans first, you have a president who not only says it, but he does it, and we're here today to prove it. God bless you.
I would like to thank President Trump for inviting us all here today. It is a profound honor to stand with you here at the White House, along with the brave veterans, the military leaders, and cabinet members, in the same month that we celebrated the 250th anniversary of our great country. If I could take a moment, for those of you that are at a camera and facing this way, there are hundreds of veterans here today. And I feel like we owe it to the veterans who have sacrificed. The saying is that all gave some and some gave all. And I would like to take a moment for all of us to thank the people behind the camera and the men here for their service. As President Trump said, I am Nathan Maisgeyer. I'm the president of Werner Enterprises. Werner is one of America's largest, safest, and most successful transportation companies. This year, Werner proudly celebrates 7 decades of keeping the American economy moving. And after all, 75% of all freight in America moves by a truck. At Werner, 15% of our 14,000 associates nationwide are veterans and military spouses, a statistic that we're proud of. Today, I am proud to announce a new strategic initiative for our company. In tandem with the Trump administration's Freedom Haulers program, Werner Enterprises is officially committing to hire 1,400 veterans in the coming year. This administration's Freedom Haulers campaign will have a direct and powerful impact on our ability to bring even more veterans into our workforce and into this great trucking economy. Cutting through red tape and translating a veteran's military driving experience directly into a civilian commercial driver's license. Veterans at Werner often move up the ranks into roles as driver leaders, and many serve as premier road team captains, mentoring the next generation of drivers and representing the absolute best of American trucking. We should all commit to ensure that every veteran returning home is met not just with handshakes and hugs and applause, but real opportunities to lead, drive, and succeed. Thank you again to President Trump and all of the members of the Trump administration who support our heroes and these pro-veteran initiatives. May God bless our veterans, may God bless our leaders, and may God bless America. Thank you.
My fellow Americans, Mr. President, and distinguished guests, it is an honor to stand with you today. For 30 years of service, I have the privilege of wearing the uniform of the United States Army and the Army National Guard. Like so many who have answered the call, my service took me through moments of hardships and sacrifices. I reflect on which I carry with me every day. Serving this nation was an honor, but when the time came to take a uniform off, I faced the question veterans confront. How do I continue serving? For me, the answer was on the open road. Transition from military life behind the wheel of a commercial truck has brought a renewed sense of mission for me. Veterans make exceptional truck drivers because they have the core values of the military aligned seamlessly with the trucking industry. We're disciplined, we are vigilant, we're adaptable, and with an unwavering commitment to getting the job done safely and on time. The trucking industry is more than just a sector of our economy. It is its backbone of our commerce. It is a place where service members, veterans, military spouse can find a purpose, a community, and a way to continue keeping our great nation moving forward. Thank you, Mr. President. God bless our service members and their family, and God bless the United States of America.
Anybody like to say anything? I just want to thank everybody for being here. This is going to be a big day for our wonderful patriots, our great veterans. They're going to produce like nobody else can produce. And thank you very much. And I want to thank you and especially all those people you're going to be hiring. But I know a lot of your competitors are also doing the same thing. So it's going to be really fantastic. Sean, thank you. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, everybody, for the job you've done very much. Bye. Thank you.
It's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green-lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy one bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy one, get 2 free. Call or go online right now.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options, only at selectspecs.com.
Life's daily battles are not meant to be fought alone.
We're not powerless, so long as we don't lose sight of what's important.
Don't be afraid to seize that moment to talk to your friends.
Cloud, you okay?
Because checking in on a friend can create a safe space.
The first step on our new journey. You coming?